Good morning. President Trump and his administration are committed to ensuring hardworking Americans have access to affordable health care. Mr. President, your executive order signed today is an important step in achieving that goal. I want to thank you and your administration for continuing to focus on finding affordable health care solutions. In addition to instructions given to the Treasury and Health and Human Services departments, the President will task the Department of Labor with considering ways to deliver quality, affordable health care to the American workforce. I'd now like to call upon Senator Rand Paul to say a few brief words. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Acosta. Today's a big day. President Trump is doing what I believe is the biggest free market reform of health care in a generation. This reform, if it works and goes as planned, will allow millions of people to get insurance across state lines at an inexpensive price. 28 million people were left behind by Obamacare, do not have insurance today. This specifically targets and will help people who don't have insurance or people for whom insurance is too expensive. I'm very glad to be part of this, and I really want to commend the President for having the boldness and the leadership and the foresight to get this done. And I'd like to introduce the Vice President of the United States.
Well, good morning. Secretary Costa, Senator Paul, Secretary Mnuchin, Director Mulvaney, Administrator McMahon. Senator Paul, thank you for those thoughtful remarks, and to Congressman Greg Walden and Congresswoman Virginia Foxx, other distinguished members of Congress, and job creators. It's an honor to share this moment with you today, a moment where President Trump will take a critical step to lower the cost of health insurance for working Americans. Since day one of our administration, President Trump has made it a top priority to rescue the American people from the disastrous failure of Obamacare. Every day Obamacare survives is another day the American people struggle. And all the job creators gathered here today at the White House have witnessed the failures of Obamacare firsthand. Premiums have more than doubled since Obamacare went into effect, and next year premiums are set to increase even more. While costs have been skyrocketing, choices are plummeting. Next year, nearly half of America's counties will have only one choice of health insurance provider, which means they essentially have no choice at all. As the President and I have traveled the country, we've heard stories from small business owners like those gathered here today, from working families who are struggling under the weight of Obamacare. Today, President Trump will take decisive action to provide the American people with flexibility and freedom from the burdens of Obamacare and expand the number of affordable health care options for working Americans. And Mr. President, I can say I speak for everyone here and for millions of Americans when I say how grateful we are for your determination to repeal and replace Obamacare and your commitment, demonstrated today by this action, to provide the American people with more choices for more affordable health care in the 21st century. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce the President of the United States of America.
Thank you very much to Vice President Pence for that wonderful introduction and for the great job you do. And I want to thank Secretary Acosta, Secretary Mnuchin, Acting Secretary Hargan, and Administrator McMahon for joining us today. We're all gathered together for something I believe that's going to be very, very powerful for our nation and very good for a lot of people. But before I begin, I have an important update. Yesterday, the United States government, working with the government of Pakistan, secured the release of Caitlin Coleman, Joshua Boyle, and their 3 children from captivity from the Haqqani Network, a terrorist organization with ties to the Taliban. The Pakistani government's cooperation is a sign that it is honoring America's wish that it do more to provide security in the region. And I want to thank the Pakistani government. I want to thank Pakistan. They worked very hard on this, and I believe they're starting to respect the United States again. It's very important. I think right now, a lot of countries are starting to respect the United States of America once again. We hope to see this type of cooperation and teamwork in helping secure the release of remaining hostages and in our future joint counterterrorism operations. So with that, I want to begin by saying it's my pleasure to welcome so many great small business and association leaders to the White House as we prepare to make this truly historic announcement. And that's exactly what it is. We've been hearing about the disaster of Obamacare for so long. In my case, many years, most of it outside in civilian life, and for a long period of time since I started running And since I became President of the United States, I just keep hearing repeal, replace, repeal, replace. Well, we're starting that process, and we're starting it in a very positive manner. And I can say when you get Rand Paul on your side, it has to be positive. That I can tell you. Boy. Rand. I was just saying, as he's getting up and saying all these wonderful things about what we're going to be announcing, I said, boy, that's pretty unusual. I'm very impressed. But 7 years ago, congressional Democrats broke the American healthcare system by forcing the Obamacare nightmare onto the American people. It has been a nightmare. You look at what's happening with the premiums and the increases of 100% and 120%, and even in one case, Alaska, over 200%. And now every congressional Democrat has blocked the effort to save Americans from Obamacare, along with a very small, frankly, handful of Republicans, 3. And we're going to take care of that also because I believe we have the votes to do block grants at a little bit later time, and we'll be able to do that. Premiums have gone skyrocketing. But today, 1/3 of all the counties in America have only a single insurer selling coverage on an exchange, and next year it looks like nearly half of all counties in our country. Think of that. All of the counties, 1/2, will have only one insurer, and many will have none. Many will have absolutely created roadblocks for people to have any form of the insurance we're talking about. This is why in a few moments I will sign an executive order taking the first steps to providing millions of Americans with Obamacare relief. It directs the Department of Health and Human Services, the Treasury, and the Department of Labor to take action to increase competition, increase choice, and increase access to lower-priced, high-quality health care options. And they will have so many options. This will cost the United States government virtually nothing. And people will have great, great health care. And when I say people, I mean by the millions and millions. First, we aim to allow more small businesses to form associations to buy affordable and competitive health insurance. This would open up additional options for employers to purchase the health plans their workers want. I'm also directing Secretary Acosta to consider ways to expand these associations and these health care plans all across state lines. This will create tremendous competition and transformative, in so many ways, change aimed at creating more and lower prices for millions of Americans. But the competition will be staggering. Insurance companies will be fighting to get every single person signed up. And you will be hopefully negotiating, and you'll get such low prices for such great care. Should have been done a long time ago, and it could have been done a long time ago. This will allow thousands of small business employers to have the same purchasing power as large employers to get more affordable and generous insurance options for their workers. Rich and Leslie Baudry, where are they? Where are they? How are you? Nice to see you. How are you? Come on, get up here. Come on. How are you? Nice to see you, Leslie. They're here today from Louisiana, great state. Just left. They had a little hurricane damage, they got hit like Charles. But we took good care of it, right?
Absolutely.
We took good care of it. They're great people. They're small business owners, and they know personally.
Hi guys, just checking in with you from the digital newsroom here at Fox 5 DC. Welcome to the show and thanks for joining us here. We have President Trump here signing this executive order inside the Roosevelt room in the White House, and we're going to jump back in there so we don't miss some of his speech. But also, Paul Ryan is making his weekly address today. We're going to have some other people in the newsroom talking about the Wharf and all the stuff coming up tonight. The Nats game, Game 5. They forced Game 5 in the NLDS after last night's victory against the Cubs in Chicago, and they're coming back here. I'm going to the game. I don't know about you, T, but I'm excited. So we're not keeping it all politics today, but we're going to be chatting more about the Wharf coming up. So jumping back into President Trump, and then we'll be back with you in the newsroom.
And there are millions of Americans who want more affordable options just like them. And now, with this executive order, Americans will likely soon have those options. We will be very happy to provide them to you, and you will be very happy, Rich. I think you're going to be extremely pleased. If you're not, you can tell them right now. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Thank you very much. In addition, my administration will explore how we can expand something called short-term, limited duration insurance. These health insurance policies are not subject to any very expansive and expensive Obamacare coverage mandates and rules. The cost of the Obamacare has been so outrageous, it is absolutely destroying everything in its wake. They were so attractive that just last year, the previous administration crippled the market in an effort to keep people from fleeing the failing Obamacare plans. In fact, they prevented these plans from lasting more than 3 months. They will take action to fix that and to make these affordable, flexible plans much more widely available. So we're going to have a very widely available plan that's going to cost much less. And from the standpoint of the United States government, we will be very happy, won't we, Virginia? We will. So they'll get better, and it will cost us nothing. That's not too bad, right? We need some more answers like that. Finally, today's executive order instructs Secretaries Acosta, Mnuchin, and Hargan to explore how they can allow more businesses to use tax-free health reimbursement arrangements, or HRAs, to compensate their employees for their health care expenses. Currently, only about 1/3 of small business employees receive coverage at work, forcing millions of workers to enroll in the exchanges or remain uninsured and to pay the individual mandate penalty. Not good. Not good. That is one of the most unpopular things I've ever seen in government, I can tell you. This order takes first steps to make it easier for businesses to help their workers afford high quality and more flexible health care through reimbursement accounts. With these actions, we are moving toward lower costs and more options in the healthcare market and taking crucial steps towards saving the American people from the nightmare of Obamacare. Today is only the beginning. In the coming months, we plan to take new measures to provide our people with even more relief and more freedom. And by the way, on another subject, that will include massive tax cuts. We are going to get massive tax cuts, and I believe even Senator Rand Paul, and I know Virginia, Greg, I think you're with us, but the whole country is looking for these massive tax cuts, and we will get them. And we are going to also pressure Congress very strongly to finish the repeal and the replace of Obamacare once and for all. We will have great health care in our country. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Most important thing, I'm only signing it because it costs nothing. So this is promoting healthcare, choice and competition all across the United States. This is going to be something that millions and millions of people will be signing up for, and they're going to be very happy. This will be great health care. So congratulations to everybody.
intrigued by your Puerto Rico comments this morning.
Mr. President, are you committed to Puerto Rico for the long term?
All right, hi guys. Thanks so much for joining us on the stream today. If you're joining us on YouTube, good to see you. Thanks for using the chat to communicate with us. You're looking at a live shot of our newsroom here today, guys. We're going to be bringing you in all the live feeds that we have. Right now, you're looking at a bump shot of what is going to be a press conference in Sonoma County regarding the wildfires, which we just had up a shot right here, a live look at what it looks like there in Napa County. But it's also totally switching gears, a really big day in D.C. We have the grand opening of the Wharf in West D.C. Of course, also Nationals Game 5 of the NLDS, and we're going to be talking more about that. There was sort of a little talk about the Metro closing early. We just found out it will be extended 1 hour today. So if you're trying to get down to Southwest or attending one of the concerts or the game, hopefully you'll be able to utilize that service because the game and all the stuff at the Wharf is likely to go late. So we're going to have Tom Fitzgerald in a second come over here and kind of chat that up. And then we'll try to jump into this press conference in Sonoma County to give you the latest of what's going on with the fires there. We'll probably have that throughout the day. Yeah, we'll be right back with you guys in a second. All right, because that press conference is not going to start for quite a while. We're going to talk some Nationals baseball. And look at it. This is a live look moments ago of the outside of the park.
That's exciting.
And Tom's here to talk Nats with me because there's so much excitement going on in D.C. tonight, guys. We were mentioning.
That's not that exciting.
Okay, we only have a quick. This is all I got. This is all I got outside of the park.
You got to be honest.
It's not an exciting look.
The excitement will come, but this will give you something to compare against. So look at that now, and then come back later, and look at it later.
Crazy.
It'll be a lot more exciting than that.
It's crazy to think how swarmed those lines are going to be tonight, and it's going to be crazy all over Southwest in D.C. tonight.
There's a lot going on. You know, in all of the years we've been here. You'd be hard pressed to look at a night like this that we've got. All right, you've got. So let's recap. You've got Game 5 of the National League Division Series, where if you did not see that game last night,
was it crazy?
All right, so
it was
the
great.
Nationals pull it out in Chicago. They force Game 5 back here in D.C. at Nationals Park tonight. Okay, then not far away, only right down M Street. You've got the Wharf, this amazing new redevelopment project on the Washington, D.C. waterfront. It's got residents, condos, great restaurants, a brand new marina area over there. And tonight, it'll be a grand opening. They've had a couple of soft openings the last couple of nights. Which I still would have liked to have gone to. But tonight is the big night, because tonight the Anthem opens. It is a 6,000 person music venue. And who better to open it than the Foo Fighters? Dave Grohl, who you know from Nirvana, and obviously you've known for the past quarter century now from the Foo Fighters. He's a local guy. He's from Northern Virginia. He grew up in this area. He grew up going to the original 930 Club. And when Seth Hurwitz, who owns 930, started thinking about what to do with a new venue, he wanted to get something that was smaller than the Capital One Center, formerly Verizon Center, and larger than the 930 Club. Everybody loves the 930 Club. It's the old WUST music hall, and it's got a stage. It's intimate,
but still big, but good size.
Yeah, but you are limited, I think, in probably some of the acts that you could bring there. And they wanted kind of something in the mid-range, and they wanted to just, build something, in Hurwitz's words, that was the best. So they spent time. They went to other venues. They went to other places to get a sense of what works, what doesn't. And he says that they've poured all of this into the Anthem. Now, I haven't stepped foot in the place. I've driven by it.
Same.
One of our web producers, Harry Dang, has gone to it. He's posted a lot of pictures from one of their soft openings. Run-throughs. They had a couple of smaller bands play that, and it looks amazing.
And you're a music guy. Have you've seen sort of the schedule? Do you feel like it is that middle ground of bands?
Because you're bringing in acts. They're going to be bringing in acts like
Killers,
the Killers, Queens of the Stone Age. St. Vincent is going to be there. So you've got basically now a venue. St. Vincent probably would not sell out the Capital One Center. They are an incredible band. They are going to be, they're already a huge band, but they're probably not a band at this point right now that's going to sell out Capital One Center. But yet they're probably too big for 930 Club.
It's interesting because there are some big acts at 930, but either way, regardless.
Because you get the sense. One of the things with a lot of performing artists these days right now is that the record industry, as a lot of us knew it growing up, and it's been even different for your generation as well. It's changing, and the importance of live performance is never been bigger than it is right now. Not only from a standpoint of the relationship with your fans, but also the economics of the music business these days. They don't have to split a gate at their shows, the way they do with the recording contracts. And now with the age of streaming, they're not getting the return on their investment in the recordings that they used to get. So, and it was never a fair, equitable situation for the musicians ever, going back to the 40s and 50s. It was always weighted in the. So live performance is very, very important these days, as it has been for many, many years. Now you've got places that you're allowing bands like these to get, Foo Fighters could sell out a football stadium.
I know,
they're not worried,
especially here.
But the importance of having a band like them open this place, I think it means a lot to this region. It means a lot to this city, and it's going to mean a lot to the future of that building. I'm from, as I've mentioned a few billion times, New Jersey. And what I'm thinking of tonight is the same feeling I had back, this is probably before you were born, July 1981. and
Okay.
Bruce Springsteen and the
Yeah.
E Street Band opened
That's super
the
cool.
Meadowlands Arena.
Oh, cool.
And they opened it. It was, I believe, it was 8 nights. I went to the 3rd night. I still got the ticket. It was $16.
So cool.
But all the years after that, all the shows and all the sporting events, everything that we went to after that, there was always this moment of, yeah, remember when Bruce opened this place? That's going to be the same feeling for everybody in this area tonight about the anthem. The people who are lucky enough to be in that room are going to be able to say, I was here when this place opened. I was here when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foo Fighters opened this building. It's really gonna. I hope they record this and release this at some point.
Oh yeah, totally. They have to.
People are gonna want to see. I want to see this.
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you have any personal investment in it? You're not. I mean, you're not
I
going.
love the Foo Fighters.
Love them.
But no,
It's tough.
I
was gonna say what? Logistically.
somebody about how somebody tricked me. thinking
Oh
I had
yeah,
tickets.
we had a jokester in the newsroom who won't be named.
Just be back. Texted me yesterday with a picture of tickets and asked me if I wanted to go.
He
And
did
for
the
2
same-
hours. I sat there like an idiot, texting him back,
Like,
thinking that I
trying
was
to-
going to see the Foo Fighters tonight, and then
It was his
told me.
friends, but a good amount of people in this area did either win them on the radio or got them when they were first released. There was also a second release that they opened. There were some cruel people here. But I will say,
Gonna get him back.
it will be an interesting. Let's talk about too, like just the logistics and how it's going to look tonight. It's going to be, in my thought, from what they've been describing, extremely more secure and more just sort of harder to like get in. There's going to be a big line. Then 9:30.
From what I understand,
IDs.
there's a one of the big things in the music industry right now has been trying to battle bots and battle scalping. This has been a problem since they first started printing tickets. Forever. It's a commodity. Once you get your hands on something everybody wants, the price of that item, goes up, and the market tries to increase the value of it. So the last person who owns it paid the higher price. Scalping's nothing new. But in the age of StubHub and secondary ticket markets, it has exploded. So what a lot of the venues and what a lot of the music artists are trying to do right now are trying to figure out ways around what has been going on. Venues like Anthem often, and I've done this for shows that I've gone to do, will require the person who bought the ticket at times to be present, either present identification, present the credit card that the ticket was purchased with. By the way, if you're going to this show tonight, you might want to check on that to make sure that you're familiar with the ticketing procedures.
Right.
Tonight, I believe Ticketfly is the company that is handling the tickets for the evening tonight. So if you are going to that show, we're going to talk about Metro in a minute, what you need to know about getting there and getting back, because there's some good news on that right now. But you really do need to kind of check and make sure that everybody is on the same page when it comes to accessing the venue, because the last thing you want is to get down there and not know something and either get delayed or God forbid miss any of this, because from the get-go, the Foo Fighters are probably just going to lay that place out tonight.
It's so crazy cool. We have some people in the newsroom who are going too, so we're excited to hear their reviews.
I would not be one of them.
And I know he's not, I'm not, but there's so much going on in D.C., like we were saying. Also, I'll quickly mention, Ticketfly is also the same, obviously, company that does 9:30 Club tickets, so it's different with them. You can buy a couple of tickets, pass them off to your friends, and you're all in together. This one, your name needs to match the ID, so you need to be there in line. So it'll be a little more stringent, I think, tonight, and of course, it being a new venue, probably lots of security. I've heard one big line that's just going to form. One entrance. That's what Harry was saying.
The other thing I would say is get there early. I had a couple of experiences at Nationals Park very early on in its history at concerts. And it was pretty clear to me, as somebody who goes to a lot of concerts, that back when they first started doing them there, it could have gone better. It could have gone better. And, if you go to a place, they tend to develop better systems as time goes on. Remember, this is the first big show there tonight, so I would get there early if possible, because it's their first big opening night.
Yeah, totally.
And big opening nights always kind of have hiccups along the way, and you don't want to wind up, being caught in the middle of anything that, is going to delay your entrance to the venue or your ability to enjoy that show. You put up all that work to get the tickets, you might as well get in on time.
And of course, preceding the Foo Fighters at 8 is the grand opening of the Wharf, and it's actually happening all day today.
That.
So there's also that. So the anthem is on the Wharf. It's the new music venue there, and then, like I said, everything kind of today is in celebration of the opening. Like Tom was saying, some things are open, some things aren't necessarily open.
A couple of, from what we understand, there's going to be some very great restaurants down there. Not all of them are ready to go on day one, so they'll be kind of coming online in the next couple of days and weeks. But there is a lot that is ready to go. And if you've had a chance to come down to Washington and go to the Washington Channel, the waterfront, it is just amazing. I've known this area of D.C. for more than 40 years now. There used to, my mother's favorite restaurant used to be down there.
Really?
It was Hogate's.
It was a long time.
My sister came here for the first time in '75. That was where we would always go. We would always go down to the waterfront. Phillips was down there for years. But, when they decided that era of the waterfront had kind of run its course as far as development, it kind of sat for a while, and until they were able to kind of get going, it was during the administration of former Mayor Vincent Gray that they were able to kind of nail down this idea to redevelop the waterfront. It's an amazing
Took a long time
location because you've got the water right there, incredible views of the Washington Monument.
Yep. You're on the harbor, right, with the boats, or there were.
Yeah, no, there's
still boats there.
They've redone that whole area where they've redone the whole area where the marina is. They're going to be moving a little bit more towards the 395 bridge, where they're going to be redeveloping the fish market there.
Right.
They've got some exciting, really cool things there. There is an historic building where that fish market is. It was one of the very first African-American owned restaurants in the District of Columbia. That is going to be redevelopment. That building is still there. People might pass by it every day and not really even realize what it is. That is part of the plan for the redevelopment. So they're not done, even though tonight's the opening. They've got more work to do. But it is really going to be something special because of the fact that this is an area that, when you look back 10 years ago, it was kind of drab. I mean, it was a lot of beige concrete buildings, very 1970s kind of architecture. It wasn't very...
What's wrong with that? Just kidding.
It was
70s.
It was a little boring.
Yeah,
it was a lot boring.
It was drab.
You'd look at it, and the architecture down there did not complement where it was, to the point where you kind of looked at it and you were like, well, what were they thinking when they built this? And now you go down there and it's glass that reflects the water, that reflects the sky. The old buildings down there, the hotel and Hogate's and Phillips, they used to block really your sense of the water. The way the buildings are laid out now, like as you go down Main Avenue, you see the water in between the buildings. It's opened it up in a way that it wasn't before. So I've been, as somebody who's an architecture buff as well too, I've been really impressed with the architecture that they brought down there, because I think it's not only modern, it's not only new, it also complements the area, and in particular getting back to the anthem, they have done some things in that building that are just stunning. As you walk into the entrance of the building, there is an amazing sculpture made out of drum cymbals.
That's really cool.
Just kind of hang down from the ceiling, and it almost looks like cascading cymbals coming down on top.
That's
of you.
awesome. Music lovers unite for this type of stuff, and I think you and I both can appreciate that, and other arts lovers who are in here. But that sounds gorgeous. I've only seen sort of snippets too. I haven't been down there.
Yeah.
But if you guys are just joining us, we're talking about the big Wharf opening tonight, including the Anthem, the brand new music venue, which is part of the same family as 930 Club on 9th and V Street Northwest, if you're familiar. And then concurrently, we got the Nationals baseball game, Game 5 of the NLDS tonight, and so a lot of people are going to be flooded down in that southwest quadrant area and the water.
We're going to talk about Metro now?
So we got to talk about how we're going to get there.
So let's get to the good news. The good news is this. Matt Ackland,
yeah, I'm going to take this.
of Fox 5, you're going to throw that up?
Yeah, new news tonight.
So Matt Ackland broke this a few minutes ago. that Mayor Bowser, and here is the announcement, but Matt had it first.
Right, Matt tweeted out, and then he tweeted
that,
this.
Today, Mayor Muriel Bowser and Metro General Manager CEO Paul Wiedefeld announced that Metro Rail will remain open an additional hour tonight for fans attending the Nationals-Cubs game at Nationals Park, as well as those attending the grand opening of the Wharf in Southwest D.C. The cost of the extended service, $100,000, being funded by Exelon, the parent company of Petco. Pepco?
Pepco,
Pepco, not Petco.
You're thinking, yeah, you got pets in the brain.
Dog food. And Metro's regular closing time for stations, Navy Yard Ballpark, Alpha Plaza, Capitol South, will remain open for
entry only.
Entry only.
All other Metro stations will be available. Oh, interesting.
So this is standard.
Yeah. Just that area.
They want people to leave. They want people to be able to leave.
And have a way to,
So what's different about this is, they've done this for large events at Nats Park. With Wharf opening tonight, they are also were really under pressure to do this because of the fact that you've got Foo Fighters tonight, you've got the Anthem tonight, you've got the Wharf tonight, and then, oh, by the way, you've got Game 5 of the NLDS.
Which didn't necessarily have to happen, but it did, and it's good.
It's great that
it's exciting.
Happened.
No, of course,
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to see. We were kind of all wondering, is this all going to coincide together? So, okay, so this announcement...
So up until about an hour
just
ago,
an hour ago,
we didn't know whether or not this was going to happen.
Is that normal for it to happen late like this, though? This was kind of a surprise.
In the current age of Metro, yes, it's normal for these questions to come up because Metro has... I don't know if we can call it reduced service anymore because this is just the new reality.
Right.
They set hours that are shorter than the hours that we've known for years here. But that's the way it is now. They have been working. Safe Track is over. This has been a project to basically rebuild Metro from the inside out while you are continuing to run Metro.
I remember.
So it's like painting a room that you're going to be still living in.
Oh, totally. That's a good analogy. If you guys were around for the summer and preceding that, that's what we went through for months. Early times, early closing.
Yeah, and so the idea is that, well, if we get into one of these situations where there's a big night, what would you do? We had asked these questions a year ago, last year, when the Nationals were in the postseason.
Yeah.
What would you do if the Nationals got into the World Series? And one of the things the GM Paul Wiedefeld would tell us at that time was, well, we'll cross that bridge when we came to it. Well, guess what showed up this morning? A bridge. And they've crossed it. So, Exelon will pay for this. The taxpayers of D.C., Maryland, and Virginia will not have to pay for this. But also, interestingly, though, the Nationals are not paying for this.
Right.
So
tell me about
there's been a little blowback on Twitter this morning about how is it that a team with this big of a payroll is not the one. I don't know if the fans care about that. I don't know if the fans care who pays for it. Just that somebody pays for it and it's not them. But this is good news. We'll take it. Take it where you can get it.
Sure.
It's good news that they're keeping this open because had they stuck to their original plan, that probably would have been a mess down there.
Yeah, it's a question. Where would people go?
Well, we figured it out before. I mean, like when I've gone down there to concerts and they've not kept it out late, and the show goes longer, you have to either rely on, taxi, or somebody has to drive, or you need to find parking, or you need to work it out. But it's a complication, especially a complication when it's not nailed down by noon of the day of the event that you're going to. So hopefully... I think that they've done this in enough time now where in the next, say, couple of hours or so, people are going to be able to kind of make their plans, come up with a strategy of getting in and getting out. And hopefully, I'll put in a pitch for Metro here. Using Metro is probably the best way to go tonight, especially now that they've made this decision to extend the hours because parking is going to be at a premium throughout that entire area tonight. In some cases, unless you have prepaid parking down at Nationals Park, or some lots some cash lots that you can get to early, it's going to be really tough.
It is. I know some people do know those secret lots and secret streets to park on. Some of us have been here long enough, but I will say myself and a couple other people in the newsroom are leaving our cars here, taking the Metro down, going to the game. Right. Last night in a flurry when they won, I was like, I must do this. So
I noticed you're wearing Cubs blue.
I know. I am, and I noticed that. I put this on today, guys. I swear it's not It's not connected. It is legit Cubs blue too. It's royal.
Okay, good luck with that.
I'm changing. I have a change of clothes, so
Okay, just saying.
I do. If you guys want to see, this is what I'm wearing. I know. I just put this on today, and I was like, oh shoot. Well, I'm still a Nats fan. I brought my hat. I brought my new outfit. Quick shot.
But you're wearing Cubs blue.
I'm wearing Cubs blue today. Look at our. I matched the whatever. Quick shot, quickly, guys. Matt Ackland tweeted this out as well. This is a picture of Mayor Bowser making. I believe she made the announcement here, but this is her sort of talking about all the sort of economic changes to the wharf.
Let's send this through a political funnel right now, right? This is a mayor who's running for re-election. But this is a big deal. If you're, going to your constituents and you're trying to point out areas of economic growth and of progress and investment in the city that you were the mayor of, well,
I mean, this is
you
it.
can't ask for anything more than this. This is a huge project. Now, Matt Ackland did some incredible reporting yesterday, going to other areas of the district.
Yeah.
I sound like I'm Matt's personal PR person this morning.
He's so good. We have to. You are.
Which I am. I'm his biggest fan. But
and he knows the areas.
Matt did some incredible reporting yesterday, going to other areas of the district, going across the Anacostia River, and talking to. And it wasn't sour grapes, and it wasn't anybody saying that they didn't want Southwest to have projects like this. All the people over there were saying was, we would like to see some of that come our way. What were they asking for? They're asking for grocery stores. They're asking for places to shop. They're asking for places to buy new clothes, new food. They want some development over there too. Now, the mayors and the administration will tell you that when you get projects like the Wharf, when you get these big kind of redevelopment, areas of the city that are almost cities within themselves, that is going to bring in more tax revenue for the district, and that a full tub rises all boats. That
a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yes. Well, I think small. I think bathtub. I think
like
bathtubs.
that.
I like my analogy.
Intimate.
So they're kind of right about this. In that if one area of the city is starting to bring in revenue, what it will do physically also. Once you build out in an area, and it's a hot area, they're going to start looking for other places to go in the district. And when you look across D.C., you see, there's still a lot of places to build here. But there is now a ball that's starting to get going. You could see it when you go over to Ward 8. You go over to, across the Anacostia. You go over to, Good Luck Road. It looks different there now than it did when I started going down there, a decade and a half ago when I started working here. It's, you see new signs of development. You see new signs of building. You see housing that wasn't there now. So it's not the pace that people would like to see over there, I'm sure, but it's starting. You can kind of almost sense that it's really kind of moving in a different direction than it was.
Yeah, totally. And here's a look right here, guys, too, on this picture. This is sort of a backed up picture of what we just showed you. Mayor Bowser making an announcement or talking about sort of the economic development of this area. And this, I think, is that pier on the Wharf, right? That's going to go out where there's going to be a couple free concerts this weekend. I believe this is where the Bacon Brothers are playing tonight. That's what I'm trying to say.
So there's a Bacon Brothers concert in addition to the Foo Fighters?
So they go on at 5. I'm telling you, I read about this months ago.
The Bacon Brothers were here, We met the Bacon Brothers.
They were here, and Kyle told me about them too, that he's seen them, and I was really excited.
I'm going to talk about Matt again.
Okay.
All right, we made Matt take a picture with Kevin Bacon.
He does.
Because
you're right.
They look like Matt could be the third Bacon brother.
Oh man, let me get his Twitter up.
We didn't realize. I don't think he has the
Does
picture.
he have a pic?
He
does it.
It was like a year ago.
There's Matt though.
But yeah, he could be the third Bacon brother.
Here's Matt.
I don't think he plays any instruments.
He's awesome. That's at Matt Ackland. You can follow him there. He's tweeting out all this. But no, you're right. You're right. You're totally right. So I read about this and I was like, I'm gonna go check this out. And it sort of kicks off the evening affair at 5 o'clock. Then there's fireworks or something at 6:30. And then there's the Nats game at 8 and the Foo Fighters.
Are they going to do this fireworks this year?
But isn't that weird? Because actually, I think it does get dark.
I should
now.
know this because
I should too.
5
yeah, you're out there.
But I don't think.
I don't know. Actually, I thought I read that. I could be wrong with the timing, but it's interesting too. Because it's a little drizzly and cold.
Well, you know what they probably want to do too is the show is going to start for the Foo Fighters, in the evening. They probably want to like, do the fireworks
Just get them
before everybody
there to
is
celebrate.
already into the venue and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, this is a look at that long pier. I guess there's a good amount of people there for checking out the wharf today.
Now, what's going to be really cool about this as it goes along is, we've been talking about the anthem, we've been talking about the restaurants. There's a lot of housing that's involved in this too.
Right.
So what you're basically getting down there is going to be a community. One of the things about the old, I'll call it the old wharf. It wasn't called the wharf. It was Hogates, Phillips, and the hotel. Was that right along the waterfront, unless the restaurants were open, either Hogates or Phillips, it tended to kind of rise and fall based upon whether. Well, there's going to be people there all the time now. So it's going to have a life, it's going to have a community, it's going to have a heartbeat to it that's constant because it's going to be a place where people are living, not just going. So you'll have that great kind of combination of an entrenched community that lives there, but yet people that are, and even from the surrounding neighborhoods around Main Avenue in Southwest, that it'll be a destination and kind of more of a community point rather than just some place to go for dinner and then leave. There's a reason to stay now.
Sure. And I think we were live at the Wharf on our morning show a couple of days ago just to kind of preempt all this, or yesterday rather. And I think they were saying those condos, I think they said something like they're 85% sold, which is a high number to me.
Because,
people have the money and are able to do this.
Well, if you have the money, you can
want
do a lot of
spot.
things, I guess.
You want a hot spot.
But if you've seen the view of what's to offer down there, it's hard not to fall in love with it as soon as you see it.
It's really pretty.
One of the great things about the old Hogates was they had this huge glass wall off the back of the old restaurant, and you could just kind of like look out on the channel, and from a certain seat, if you sat like right down near where the glass was, you could look out and see the Washington Monument at night, and you'd see boats coming in and out of the Washington Channel. So it's I sound like a real estate agent now, but it's
be a good one.
It's a stunning view.
Yeah. And if you guys are just joining us or you're on the channel, let us know what you think. If you guys are going to the game or the concert or anything having to do with the Wharf, because we're talking about the big Wharf opening and in conjunction with that Metro and how that's all going to work tonight.
Or if you're like me and you're just going home and watching it all on television.
You're going to watch it all.
And hoping somebody periscopes everything.
Oh my gosh. People will be there with their social media.
I hope somebody periscopes it because I really want to watch it.
I'm excited to even just get some footage of what the Wharf is like, what is happening, the hustle and bustle of it, kind of see the lines start to form maybe for the anthem. I'm really excited, just like you, to see
You're
the
excited
anthem.
About the line?
No, but you know what I mean. To see
You're
like
really
how crazy
excited
it
if you
is.
just-
And just and then I'm not gonna have to wait in it, which is great. But I bet you there'll be crazy lines at Nats. It's gonna be high security. It's gonna be. I mean, it's a fifth playoff game of the series.
What's happened with the Nats is really remarkable because you can see on the faces. And I'll leave the baseball analysis to Brody and Jim.
Yeah, sure. I don't even. They're not never in for me.
I'm
but
just like a fan, like everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm a big baseball fan. You could see on the faces of the Nationals fans concern yesterday, especially leading up to the point where they finally announced that Steven Strasburg was going to take the ball and pitch last night because, there's been, I won't say, from my viewpoint, I've been here, I have a different relationship with the Nationals than any other team here because I was here when the Nationals got here, and
that's right, 05?
My viewpoint of the Nationals has been one of success.
Yeah.
But they get into the postseason, lately, fairly regularly. I feel that they've been a successful franchise. However, clearly they've not achieved the goal that all their fans want them to achieve, which is win a World Series. But their fans, you could see it on their faces yesterday, they were bracing themselves because there was concern about what was happening with this series. And, the Cubs won it all last year. And the Nationals are a very, very good baseball team, but they were facing, the 2016 World Champions. So when that news went out yesterday that Strasburg was going to take the ball, there was just kind of, I think, a collective sigh of relief amongst a lot of the Nationals fans, and tempered with, well, he should have pitched.
It should have been anyway, right?
Pitched anyway.
I know.
But as things worked out, success tends to kind of, ease a lot of problems. And I think maybe that's kind of papered over some of that now. So,
absolutely.
Momentum's a big thing in baseball.
I know.
They're coming home. You know, if you were going to tell people 3 months ago, hey, listen, I'm going to give you game 5 at home, everybody would take it. You know, yeah, you'd love to go 3-0 right out of the gate and not have to worry about it. But, you know, if you were to tell somebody a couple of months ago, I'll give you game 5 in the NLDS at home, everybody would sign up for that.
Yeah, and it's going to be a raucous crowd. Playoff baseball is like unlike anything else, and I'm excited to just get that camaraderie and that's just a fandom. It's going to be really fun to be around.
Smart baseball fans in Washington, and I'm not saying that to be placating or to be a homer, but when you go, I've never been, I'll be honest with this. I'm a Yankee fan, but I go to a lot of Nationals games. And,
watch.
Yeah, I've never been in a stadium where I see more people keeping a box score with a paper and pencil.
Isn't that cool?
And
I love that. Old nerdy baseball.
I'm always struck by that in Nationals Park, that they're not just they're paying attention to the game in a different way than maybe some fans in other parks.
That's so cool.
Pay attention to the game.
It's a nice little anecdote.
And go Nats. Let's hope they.
Yeah, totally go Nats. We'll bring it in. So that was just a little look at what our reporter Matt Ackland had today, where Mayor Bowser spoke at like 10:30 about the Wharf opening and sort of the economic change.
Broke it. Matty
he broke the news that the Metro will be open a little bit later.
For everybody else.
So that's really exciting. We're looking forward to that, and you'll be watching. And
all right, should we talk about taxes?
Oh yeah, and then let's switch gears to politics.
Okay. There's a bit of an arm wrestling going on within the Republican Party right now over the president's tax plan. He was on the road last night in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to talk about the tax plan. What he wants to do is part of it is he wants to reduce the tax brackets from what we currently have right now of 7 tax brackets down to 3. That would be 12%, 25%, and 35%. Now, the small business deduction would go to 25%. The corporate tax rate would go to 20%. Now, the question that's kind of circulating amongst Republicans right now is, well, yeah, we like to cut taxes. Yeah, everybody wants lower taxes. What's this going to do to our deficit? For years, the Republican Party has been the one that kind of raises their hand and says, you know what? We're running up too much deficit. We're running up too much debt. We can't continue down this path financially because it means we need to borrow more money from China. It puts us in a bad economic position down the road, and it means our children are going to have to pay this off as well. There are some Republicans that are still kind of raising this point. One of them is Senator Bob Corker. You remember that name because he's been feuding with the president the last couple of days. So Corker has now come out and said he's not going to support any tax cut or tax reform plan that he sees as raising the deficit. That's a problem because the argument from the White House right now is that, well, if you cut these taxes, if you put more money in people's pocket, the White House says a couple of things are going to happen. The companies who are able to save more on their taxes, they're going to take that money and they're going to create more jobs. Those jobs are going to turn into workers. Those workers are then going to pay more taxes. That money will go back into the Treasury, so that will make up what the tax cut took away. Now, there's a name for that. Democrats call it supply-side economics. The idea that if you cut taxes on the top part of the income bracket, that will free up money to go into the economy, and that money will then kind of have babies.
Hey,
and
whatever works for
more
analogy.
Spending and create more investment. Nancy Pelosi came out with a very strongly worded commentary the other day about how she does not believe in that. That she believes that corporations will pocket any savings that they get from a tax cut, and that they will not turn around and create these jobs. A very pessimistic view of what the White House has proposed. However, Republicans have a midterm election in 1 year and 2 weeks.
Right, next November.
They have got to have something in hand that they can go and point to with success. This is not only important for a lot of people economically, it's very important politically for the Republican Party to have something that they could go into the 2018 midterm elections with, and point to with some success that, you know, we've seen what have gone on with some of these other proposals when it comes to health care and all other kinds of things. If they are unable to get the tax reform package through, a lot of people are at a loss to come up with what their overriding theme of maintaining control of the House and Senate is going to be.
Wow.
A lot riding on this.
It is a lot. Are you going to be looking into this today more, or is this your analysis this morning?
A lot of things.
He
I look
always
into the
does.
food fighters.
I know.
Look into tickets.
That's what I
look
love.
into-
He's so knowledgeable. But like, is this your kind of focus today? I know this is a great platform to kind of talk more about it.
We've got a few things on the buffet right now. We haven't selected our
Right, you're still looking at. I always like to kind of promo what he'll be looking into today, so you guys can join in if you want to on our evening shows, or just hang out with us here in the digital.
Maybe I'll just stand in front of the anthem all day with a sign that says "Need a ticket, got one ticket."
You know, so the question is, are people going to be? No, it's going to be too secure. People are not going to be doing that tonight. It's not that type of place.
They're not?
Well, because the names, you need to be with the person with the name that matches the ID. I mean, you have to be with the person.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but if you're with the
I guess
person who
so.
has the ticket,
If they're just like, hey, have one. Do you want to come in with me? Yeah, maybe.
I will say this.
That'll be interesting
You
to
got to be
see.
very careful about going on, and this is serious now.
Yeah.
You've got to be very careful about going on any website
Totally.
that is offering you a ticket to this, or somehow think that you're going to make some great deal on the day of any of this today. And I'm not only the anthem, also Nationals Park.
Yeah.
There are a lot of counterfeit tickets out
Oh,
there.
totally.
And one of the things that law enforcement has been warning about lately is that, you know, what do people like to do? They like to take a picture of their ticket and they like to post it on social media. Some of what's been going on that they've documented in law enforcement is that people are able to grab the barcodes off those photos,
Yeah, that's bad.
take that, put that onto a counterfeit ticket.
Right, and get in with it.
Get in with it.
And then yours is
So-
null and void.
So if you do have a ticket, don't post a picture
Right.
of the barcode or the seat number on social media. It's probably not a good idea to do it anyway. But this is happening because law enforcement is warning people about this.
Totally.
And also, if there's something that you see, it sounds like people's mother and father right now. If you see something on
good.
StubHub
Help our
or
viewers.
Craigslist or anything like that,
Yeah.
you got to be very, very careful. There's a ton of counterfeit fake tickets out there.
Yes.
And all you will wind up doing is getting ripped off. And at these prices that they're asking, you know, it's some of these are it's a lot of money.
It is.
A lot of money.
It is in the end. Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it. It's a great Thursday here in D.C. A lot of big events because we had a ton of people down there. It'll be interesting to see, and I'm going to try to get some footage of it on my media, my social.
On your media?
On my video, my Snap, and my Instagram and whatnot, and I'll see what it's like tonight. I'm excited to see the Bacon Brothers.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that somebody periscopes.
Oh, here's the jokester. Here we go. The guy in the newsroom that faked us out. We already called it out.
You still talking?
Yes.
We had to just show his face.
I've only got another hour to go.
It's so competitive now. I know. He's so good. It's Joe.
Just talking.
It's Joe, but we're so glad that you're joining us, guys, on this on our Fox 5 Live here today. And if you're going to the Wharf, if you're going to the game, let us know what you think and your comments, and show us some of your pictures. You can tweet them out later tonight. I'm excited to see it. So.
All right.
You're gonna go work and.
I'm gonna go work. You know, there's an update going on right now on the Sonoma fire.
Yeah, there is. I was just going to jump over actually to Napa County and Sonoma. Yeah, guys, we've been following this all week. You've seen some of the aerials, the horrible footage, and I think the death toll is up to 23 in Northern California. Yeah, a really, really bad state. So this has been going on, already in progress. Let's go to this update in Napa.
Because obviously this is significant. And so all things will be ruled out. Cause will come out for all these fires eventually. But for right now, I'm not sure where we are other than I know they're all being investigated.
You haven't heard anything about PG&E transformers or anything of that sort?
I have not heard a single word about a cause on any one of these issues, or these incidents, I should say.
Do you have any reports about missing people?
Do I? You know, I'd have to refer to the sheriff to talk about missing people.
Yes, we are checking with families and friends, and we're exploring missing people, missing persons. Unfortunately, people take off. They stay with friends. They might leave and go to place of safety is, far away and stay in a hotel. And unless they're using the websites that we've suggested, we don't have a way of finding them. So,
a phone number that you want people to call once they have located their platform?
I think they gave you a website.
The website.
Yeah.
Okay.
To reiterate, the website in which you can register if you're an evacuee or you're looking for a family member is www.safeandwell.org. Questions?
What can you tell us about the Presley fire? Is that in this complex, or is that a different complex, one of the smaller ones? Or is that the Presley fire? Is that in this complex, or is that a different?
Yeah, it's one of the numerous fires. We can refer to the maps here about how we have Presley. It's a small fire over there. That's probably Presley and Adobe. Of all the fires that combine, that those two fires have not combined over there yet, Presley and Adobe. The other ones, the Nuns, the ones heading all the way down through Norbaum, have all combined. But until we get them contained, they're all going to be a problem. The biggest priority are those fires and where they're impacting residents and affecting people, major thoroughfares, transmission lines. So we're trying to prioritize all of that right now.
We'll take one more question.
I was going to ask the sheriff, you talked about escorting people in for exigent circumstances. What qualifies? Because I'm sure everyone feels like their circumstances.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of people that want to go in and check on people that have stayed, loved ones, that sort of thing. Also to retrieve medication and to check on animals. Those are the most frequent requests. Also, people have business needs. There are several wineries located in the areas of evacuation, and they need to get generators and equipment and things like that in. I also want to be specific. This includes our areas here in our evacuations here. This does not include the city of Calistoga. There's no escorts going back into Calistoga. Okay.
This concludes our press conference for today. Stay tuned for a press conference tomorrow at 9 a.m. And to the residents of Napa, be safe, and we love you very much.
Yeah, so we're putting everything in. Figured out why you're here. So I'll mix it out so you guys know. And I'm sure it'll be the same. And then just remind me of what you're he's coming. Okay. Let me go ahead and
yesterday, they people from China, so don't show them the camera.
okay, yeah, I'll make sure that it's in the.
Is that Misty?
Yeah,
Is this his?
that's it.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and start the live.
Yeah, I'm sure when you're good at fire program, for all the fires. Absolutely. Do that. No, I totally. And that'd be perfect. And I can still do the basic stuff, but then we'll just leave some of those more in-depth questions to those guys. And thanks for being here. No problem. I appreciate it.
All right, so we are going live.
Everyone. Yes. So I'm gonna cross the street normally, and I'll be over here for everyone. Thanks for being here.
Okay. So we are on Facebook Live.
Okay.
We're ready.
All ready?
And you are ready to go.
Good morning. Rob Giordano, Sonoma County Sheriff. Thanks for being out here today. My last name is spelled Giordano. So I'm going to start with saying that this is still an active disaster. Safety is still the priority. Life safety is where it's at. So nothing's changed in that regard. We had evacuations late into yesterday evening still going on. We did not have any evacuations throughout the middle of the night. Please stay out of the evacuated areas. The security in there is very important to us. Resources are very important to us. We don't want people in those areas, and they will not open for several days. Again, we will advertise when they're going to open on the Sonoma Sheriff's Office Facebook page, Sonoma Sheriff's Office Nixle, and Sonoma County Facebook page. You can get evac updates, opening updates, everything from those pages. So please keep following those sites. We're pushing out information regularly. Natural gas has been restored to the jail. Yesterday we reported that natural gas was out, so thanks to PG&E, we have natural gas back up. That is a big deal to us. We have over 1,000 inmates in there. The ability to prepare food is very important, so that is a good piece of information for us. I want to talk about missing persons next. Missing persons, the total number of reports are up to 900 now. Some of these numbers have been confusing over time. The reason is that there are duplicates in the missing person report list. So we're constantly trying to weed out the duplicates to get down to the number of people. But as of this morning, we have 900 missing persons reports. We have found 437 of them safe, just communication issues. Cell service still having problems. People have been evacuated from multiple areas. They're just not connecting with their family. So 437 of the 900 are safe. 463 are still outstanding. 14 deceased is the new number today. And I'm going to talk about something that's really sensitive now. It's a harder part of it, and it'll be very hard for the families. We're moving into a recovery phase. What we're doing is we're working the missing persons through their families, through conventional contacts, phones, other addresses. As that case leads us to no further information and we end up essentially, our next step in the case is going to that person's house in the fire zone and trying to find them. We're doing targeted searches. So we have teams of people who are going out searching for a very specific person based on the missing person's case to a very specific place. That's how the majority of the recoveries have been made so far. Area has to be safe for us to get in. It's going to be a slow process right now, still active fire zones. We're using search and rescue team members. Not law enforcement. They are law enforcement associated, but not people that can be doing evacs and other things. So we're spreading our resources very, very wisely. And we have cadaver dogs up here that basically can scent bodies and help us find people. So that is the reality of it. This next part is the rest of the reality. Identification is going to be hard. So far in the recoveries, we have found bodies that were almost completely intact, and we have found bodies that were nothing more than ash and bones. One of the ways that we make IDs in those cases is through medical devices. So there have been IDs in this case in a pile of ash and bones where there was a piece of metal left from somebody's surgery, like a hip replacement, with an ID number on it, and that helped us ID the person. So I'm sorry to have to tell you that, but that is what we're faced with in this fire as far as identifying people and recovering people. And that is why identification might take a long time in some of the cases. What I can tell you is we will do everything in our power to locate all of the missing people, and I promise you that we will handle the remains with care and get them returned to their loved ones. So I'll take any questions now.
We heard some reports that Sonoma County officials decided not to send out an alert, mass alert to cell phones. Can you speak on that at all? I know you touched on it a little bit yesterday, but now.
I'm actually not aware of that at all. I'm sorry. So as far as I'm concerned, the reports and the messaging going out has been fine.
But the report says that it was specifically the Chronicle report is the emergency service coordinator and the county's emergency manager made the decision not to send out the mass text alert because they were afraid people would come out, jam the roads, and make it harder for first responders.
Yeah, not aware of that at all. What I would do is the 1 o'clock briefing is global briefing for the whole fire event. I'm doing these because I'm trying to keep people up to date on what the sheriff's office is doing. And our job in this is that safety, evacuation, and recovery, and I think that's an important component. But I will be at the 1 o'clock to talk about exactly this, but that's probably a better question for them.
When these kinds of events are decided, these types of text messages would be sent out, is your input sought? And is it something that other the fire chief or someone else would actually seek your input and say, hey, what do you think about this?
Well, I really can't speak to that test because I'm not familiar with it, but I can tell you that we are part of the unified command at the fire, so we are one of the 3 people running the event. So I have people in there doing that, and the EOC, a lot of people involved. We're all involved in that.
Do you agree with that decision that was made?
I'm not going to speak about it anymore. I don't know the facts behind it, so I can't tell you. Other questions?
We heard possible reports of PG&E power lines falling down, and that may have sparked some of the fires.
Yeah, that's for the fire briefing at 1. I don't know what sparked the fires.
Sure. How are things going in the jail? Courts are closed. Yesterday, court was in session. Only half of 100 people were arraigned, so people are staying in jail longer than they normally would. What's the situation inside this kind of jail?
Situation in the jail is good. Everything's working fine. They're getting fed. The gas is back on. I know they're doing arraignments. I'm not aware of anybody staying in longer.
As we move into the recovery phase, how many people are doing that? How many people are part of that too? And then can you speak on how many cadaver dogs are out here as well?
Yeah, I'm not sure how many cadaver dogs are up here right now. I can tell you that there's 30 detectives working the missing person side of it, and there's at least 10 search and rescue people from our agency, and I believe there's 10 from another agency coming up too.
Sure. Can you repeat the number missing and the number of people found?
You bet. So the current missing persons report is 900. The current number that have been found and safe is 437, and outstanding is 463.
Just to be clear,
I'm sorry? 14.
just to be clear though, that some of those reports could be overlapped.
Yeah, we've been trying to eliminate the duplicates, and that's why over the last couple of days the numbers went up and then down again and up again. It was a confusion over, we pulled a bunch of duplicates out. So keep that in mind as I talk about these numbers, explain that the 900 could go to 950 in an hour, and we might pull out 50 of those just because of duplicates, because the information keeps coming in.
Sure, so we've seen a lot of erroneous reports.
People, for example, looking up country 1 and 2, they apparently are outside the evacuation zone, but they're not being allowed to go into their homes to get their animals and their heads. What would you say to people that are being told that they can't go in even though they're not in an evacuation zone?
So if they can't go in, it's because it's unsafe, and it is an evacuation zone as far as we're concerned. There may be some confusion of where the line is, but the message is if there's police blocking your street, don't go home.
As people start to register on the website that's available for the missing, is there any list available at all with any organization, the Red Cross, or for you?
I'm sorry, I don't think I understand the question.
Are there names for the missing?
The missing person list names? No, we're not publishing that right now. We're just working the cases.
What's your plan for identifying folks who you identify? Releasing names of folks who you identify?
We will notify the families first, and then we will release the names publicly. No, we will release them as they come up. This is going to take a long time.
Sheriff, could you comment as to the enormity of the mutual aid for this event to give us an insight on where these officers and support are coming from?
Yes, as long as you know that my numbers are estimates, because I can't even keep track of how many people are up here now, okay? I will tell you that I was at the fire camp last night, and I was just impressed with the amount of engines and people and supplies and equipment, and I'm very impressed with how they run these emergencies as far as the amount of equipment they bring in, and I'm confident in the work they're doing. I will tell you that on the law enforcement side and the resources we've had here, there's 436 National Guard troops here in Sonoma County right now. There's roughly 100 deputy sheriffs from this agency out on the street right now. And last count, there was 200 plus other law enforcement officers from other agencies working on the street right now. So when I say working on the street right now, that's because it takes another 300 behind them to come out tonight. So there are hundreds of law enforcement officers from around the Bay Area. I can't even keep track of the number of agencies now, but I can't thank them all enough. Everybody in this community is ponied up, and I mean community like the whole north half of the state, and brought people up here. And I know that the southern part of the state is prepared to send people as we wear out the ones that are here. So I have no concerns about the mutual aid and the amount of resources and help from the Office of Emergency Services. And I met with the director last night. He offered anything we need. So the ray of sunshine in this is the cooperation and the amount of resources coming into this county.
Sheriff, there have been a lot of erroneous reports on social media. Has your office been made aware of any erroneous reports, and what are some of the real-world effects erroneous reports that are spread throughout social media?
I think erroneous reports are part of our life now. I mean, we've seen it in many other cases. It seems to happen all the time. It's part of all the information going a million ways at once. My answer to that is go to Sonoma County Sheriff's Office Facebook, Sonoma County Facebook, and Sonoma County Sheriff's Office Nixle, because we're putting out the official reports. So when people ask me that question, I say, go here and look at this.
Does it cause any life-endangering problems?
I'm not aware of any issues that have come up, but it sure creates confusion.
Do you expect the death toll to increase as you go through these missing people reports?
I'd be unrealistic if I didn't.
Sheriff, have you had any more cases of looting?
Thankfully, very few calls of that. We did make 2 arrests last night of people for being in the evacuation zone that we suspected were there to loot.
And that's on top of the 2 that you mentioned yesterday?
Yep.
And the one before that?
And the one before that. So my best count, we're up to 5. I know of 2 new last night. Yeah.
Is there an idea about how many people have been evacuated or under mandatory evacuation?
You know what? I do not know that number. I'm sorry.
Sure, I live on the west.
No, I believe they're going out for the first time today.
I live on the west side of Bennett Valley, and we haven't been under mandatory evacuation, but most of my neighborhood has left. We're the last standing house. And last night, my friend was outside, and we did have people coming through our neighborhood. Are there officers out there patrolling? Because we did have an issue. Luckily, we had our dog outside, and we were outside, so we were able to see them, and they ran off. But do we have officers patrolling the neighborhoods that aren't under mandatory evacuation?
Yeah, the goal is to patrol everywhere, right? To cover all those things, and frankly, the evacuation advisories all around the evacuation areas, they are keeping an eye on all that as well. So.
You said several days before a lot of these neighborhoods are reopened. Can you be more specific? Are we talking Monday?
No, I really don't have any idea. People keep asking me to pin a date. I'm just trying to be realistic. I wouldn't count on anything until Monday. And I say that only because we're still fighting the fire. And the fire guys are working hard and they got a job to do. And we're not going to let people back into neighborhoods when things are still burning.
Do you know in what area the cadaver dogs go into today?
Targeted searches based on our missing persons list could be anywhere in our jurisdiction where we're looking.
Is there one particular neighborhood where you found a concentration?
No. It's
spread out.
So far it's been spread out into burn areas that we can get into. So.
Is today the first time the search and rescue teams are going out also?
Yes, I believe so. They were out here the other day, but they weren't out searching. They were doing other stuff for us.
Sheriff, there's been multiple cases of people who have burned alive in their homes, and also many pets have gone missing. Why won't you accept volunteers for people who aren't going to go leave houses and have to wear a body cam or have a patrol car follow them around to get some of these people and animals out safely?
We need to respect the loved ones and the families and the dead, and we're not going to take people in to take pictures of something like that. It's way too sensitive.
I mean, to grab people before they're dead in their houses before, like.
Yeah, we have a job to do, and that is safety. And taking people in to take pictures is not going to help us take care of their safety.
I mean, to get them out before they.
I'm not going to answer your questions anymore. Sorry.
Yesterday it was still life-threatening. You said it was still a life-threatening operation, making sure that people were safe and getting them out of their house. Is that the case today, or?
Yeah, the whole issue still is life safety and getting people out as needed. So as fire tells us where they need evacuations, we will continue to do the evacuations.
But you haven't had any evacs since last night?
Last night we did not have any evacs. I'm unaware of this morning. Yeah, yesterday evening.
Since evening. Are you getting a sense from CAL FIRE or the fire department that you might have to do more evacuations today?
I have no information about that. I'll be at the briefing with them in a little while and at the 1 o'clock. Yeah.
One question, the deaths and the missing reports, are they mainly from the Tubbs fire? Are they all from the Tubbs fire?
I don't know that. And part of the reason I don't know is I don't know which one's the Tubbs versus which one's this versus where we're getting our people, so I'm sorry.
Do you have more information about where the people are? Have they been found in structures or outside the structures?
I don't know. All right, thank you.
One will be held where?
Fire base camp at the fairgrounds.
Sonoma County Fairgrounds.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate you coming. Thanks. Yeah.
Any particular area where they get
we don't know that yet.
we put that out. We put out the first 7
Yeah, I will.
I was thinking about this.
All right, guys, we're back in studio. You might remember his face from yesterday. Rob Lynch is back.
Hi.
And he's got his Nats hat on.
What camera am I
You're
on?
looking at this one. Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Okay, so Rob, you just got back from Chicago.
I literally just got back from the airport.
He literally got back on, got off the plane and came right to work
Yes,
today.
I did.
And you were awesome to Skype in with us yesterday.
you.
The
I
awesome
appreciate it. It was
view
fun.
on the river. Yeah, you were there for a couple days.
Yes, it was awesome.
You went to game 3.
I went to the Monday game, then the Tuesday game got rained out.
Yep.
And then it was a Wednesday game, and I said to myself, if they win Monday, I will buy a ticket for Tuesday. But if they lose, I'm not going to be there if they close us out there.
Mm-hmm.
The Chicago fans were kind to me, as
Good.
kind as you could imagine in a way, but it was a sea of blue.
Yeah.
I mean,
like this blue, I guess. Apparently, I was.
Are you?
I know.
Are you?
He already called me
comfy?
out. No. I'm going to the Nats game tonight. I'm super pumped.
My God.
I got my hat. I should have worn it on camera. I snagged this dress. All right, long story short.
Well, I'm sure we all want to know about
It
your
was
dress.
a sea of blue.
It was amazing. So in my section was thousands of people, and I said it looked like prickly heat on a blue bear because it was little teeny specks of red. And then I stood waiting to get a beverage, and people were passing, and like every 15 minutes there'd be a guy and he'd high-five me.
Oh, cool.
And I was in a section of very nice older women, and they were very kind, not kind, but kind as the kind they could be.
Mm-hmm.
And it was razzing. It was razzing. There's other ballparks. I will leave out the city's names.
Yeah.
That are not so kind
Not so kind.
to
It's
a way.
true.
So I didn't feel at all in
That's good.
danger. And when we were leaving, I also was rolling out with like 7 cops on bicycles. So I could be a little tough, when I was walking out. But, Wrigleyville is all around it are all bars.
Yes.
And then
Super
then
cool.
outside of the bars are actually houses and people on stoops, and it's all cups.
I love that. It's neighborhoody.
It's just they've been doing it a long time, and they do it right. They do it right.
So you had a great time, and you gave us a little rundown on Skype yesterday, and now you're back. What's your status today? You're working.
I am working till 9.
Okay.
I did find tickets.
Oh my gosh.
But here's the thing. I want all the Nats fans to at least high-five me and give me a thank you, because when I go, they lose. So I am not going tonight.
Oh.
Strictly because I'm that superstitious.
Interesting.
And I didn't go to the yesterday's game and they won, so I'm not.
Oh, wow.
No, I am that superstitious. I am not. No.
Funny.
I will leave here and go to the local watering hole and I will watch it there.
And so many places will be exciting and bustling tonight, of course, for the game. Game 5 of NLDS. And we wanted to just chat with Rob because he's back and he literally hopped off the plane. Woo! Came back. What a
I'm
cool
gassed.
excursion.
I got about 2 hours sleep.
I'm
gassed.
It's tricky on those fly-ins.
And then you lose the hour. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but overall, Chicago's amazing. I love Chicago. I love the food. If you're a foodie, it's a great town.
Good. Are you looking forward to the rest of the season? What are you thinking about?
I'm looking forward to them hopefully winning tonight and we go into the Dodgers.
Very cool.
So I will go to some Dodgers games, but I'm sacrificing my team, so I really hope to win. And I did say if it was a rain out, I think God's intervening and saying that He thinks that we should win. So that's what I'm going with.
Yes, good.
So I think we interrupted the momentum, and now we have the momentum.
Good.
At least I hope so.
Oh, we do. I mean, we did last night. It was fun.
It was a good.
Where were you?
I was at Lizzie McGuire's. I like the Irish.
Some
bar.
Irish pub.
I like the Irish bars.
These half Italian, half Irish guys.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm a mutt. But I love those. I like the art that's dark and it's Irish. They're all Irish and they're from Ireland. And
there's some cool local, homegrown, cool bars there.
Oh yeah, especially definitely. And they were going to kick me out at the World Cup started. So I luckily left and went somewhere else and watched the game. So
good.
But I'm glad I didn't see us not qualified for the World Cup.
No, it was big. We talked about that yesterday briefly.
It's horrible.
Sad for a lot of people
1986.
who get into soccer from that, and
I think this is. I think there's enough generations now that have been playing soccer since they were kids. I think it's caught on.
And it's still there will be that next generation of soccer.
I just don't know if it's ever going to be bigger than football. I just don't think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but who knows? More generations, more people play it. I played it when I was a kid. I love watching it, but I still rather watch football. I'm sorry, American football.
Right. Yeah. And wait, remind me again, you're from where again?
I'm from a little hamlet called Riverdale. They do a show about it. No, that's Riverdale, New York. This is Riverdale, Maryland, which is in Prince George's County.
You're a hometown team guy.
I'm a refugee at PG, is what I like to say.
That's so interesting.
Oh, there you go.
So we wanted to pull some people in the newsroom just to get their perspective. Super excited about tonight.
I am.
And
I'm
love
nervous.
your hat. Love the gray.
I'm nervous.
It's a good one.
It was a good time. Overall,
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it.
It's cool.
It was a bucket list. I wanted to go to Wrigley.
Oh yeah.
I
It
didn't-
happened
yeah.
to be the Nats, or you knew?
Well,
I mean,
no, it just happened
to
that
work out.
I had somebody staying there that I
Yeah.
could stay with them, and I took it. It was a cheap flight, so it was
Perfect.
good. It all worked out.
Yeah.
So it really worked out if we win tonight. Go Nats.
Go Nats. All right, we're gonna let Rob get back to work
Bye.
in his actual
By
work.
actually
I
work.
dragged him over here.
Okay, bye everybody.
Yeah, bye. And
See
we're gonna go back over to the House floor where they're debating a $36.5 billion disaster relief bill for hurricanes and wildfires. So over to the House floor.
Woman from the Virgin Islands, who I believe just returned, and we thank you for being here today, Ms. Plaskett.
Gentlewoman from the Virgin Islands is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to Chairman Frelinghausen and Ranking Member Lowy for bringing more disaster relief to the floor today. I'm pleased to see a much-needed support for ongoing disaster response efforts in the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and other hurricane-affected areas, including direct assistance to families, debris removal operations, and emergency protective measures carried out by FEMA and additional activities of numerous other federal agencies that are on the ground working around the clock to help us to recover and rebuild. I cannot thank enough all of our federal and local personnel helping us through this. I have been on the ground after Irma, after Maria, and just recently, and I tell you, their support is invaluable. I'm particularly pleased to see the subdivision of $5 billion for Disaster Direct Loan Program to assist local governments and with measures taking into account the unique aid and flexibility needed for the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Multiple loans will be available based on different types of losses and unanticipated spending needs, and waivers of amount limits are also helpful. Additional loans to pay for local matching requirements is an important support. However, I'm deeply concerned about the important relief that was left out of this bill and the administration's disaster relief request last week. This does not incorporate the medium and long-term assistance that played a critical role in the recovery following previous disasters like Katrina and Sandy, and the Virgin Islands cannot afford to wait for this to be a higher priority of the federal government. The package does not include community development and social service block grant funding, Economic Development Administration funds, supplemental housing assistance, nor additional funds for repair of our water infrastructure, ports, community facilities, airports, roads, parks, wetlands, and fishery. Damage sustained in all of these areas has been catastrophic, and waiting around until another end of the year for auxiliary funding for these pressing needs is not acceptable. Perhaps most concerning is the lack of Medicaid program assistance to the territory. Even before 2 consecutive Category 5 hurricanes that decimated our hospitals and medical infrastructure, the Virgin Islands was forced to operate at a Medicaid program that is capped at an amount that has no relationship to local needs, and our rate of federal matching funds, our FMAP, is limited to an arbitrarily low 55% federal to 45% local contribution. Thousands of our citizens go without adequate care due to this treatment every year, in addition to the impacts on our providers and hospitals due to uncompensated care. But after these back-to-back storms, there is no revenue being generated in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico at this time. Our tourism-related economy is gone. We will miss this entire year at the very least. With our public health and social welfare needs only bound to get much worse, we are in dire need of supplemental Medicaid support, including a temporary 100% federal contribution, just like what was provided to Americans living in Louisiana and Texas following Katrina. I was pleased to see Ranking Member Pallone's proposal to provide this 100% temporary federal share with a substantial plus up to our allotment, so that the American citizens, yes, American citizens in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico can have the benefit of Medicaid in this time of greatest need. This has not been a pack of this package. Virgin Islanders cannot wait until Christmas, like we're waiting in Christmas for a utility
time has
for a
expired.
Medicaid program.
Gentleman from
we
New
need
Jersey
it
is
now.
recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves.
Gentlelady from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from California, the ranking member of the Committee on Financial Services, Ms. Waters.
Gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, in the wake of the destruction that this historic hurricane season has wrought on Texas, Florida, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the Gulf Coast, I'm very pleased that in addition to the emergency relief funds for wildfires that are burning on both ends of California, the bill also includes liquidity and emergency nutritional assistance for Puerto Rico, where they are facing particularly difficult challenges in their recovery efforts. This bill also provides for partial debt forgiveness of $16 billion for the National Flood Insurance Program. I'm encouraged to see that the administration finally understands that what we've been saying for a long time. We need to forgive the debt of the NFIP, which FEMA has repeatedly stated it will never be able to repay. Following the losses that will be incurred as a result of the recent hurricanes, the NFIP needs debt forgiveness more than ever. But let's be clear, the partial debt forgiveness will leave the NFIP with a crushing level of debt. Although this is a step in the right direction, we should forgive all of the debt that the NFIP has accrued from catastrophic storms like Katrina and Sandy, instead of burdening the NFIP policyholders with hundreds of millions of dollars in interest payments every year. Before this hurricane season, NFIP policyholders were already paying more in interest than the entire NFIP spends on salaries and expenses,
The gentleman from New
funding
Jersey is
mitigation, or
recognized.
paying for flood maps. I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Chairman, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. Gentlelady from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from California, a senior member of the Appropriations Committee, Ms. Lee.
Gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. I want to thank our ranking member for yielding and for your tireless leadership. As a representative from Northern California, let me just say that my thoughts and prayers are with our neighbors in the North Bay. Now, I remember the Oakland Hills. I represent Oakland and Berkeley, California, and just as many helped us then, we will help our neighbors now. I'm deeply grateful to our firefighters and our first responders who have been working around the clock to extinguish these fires. Mr. Speaker, I also rise in strong support of this emergency supplemental. Our neighbors in the North Bay, the Gulf Coast, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Texas, they need our help, and they need it now. Communities are devastated, and many are still without power and water. This is a life and death situation for so many. Make no mistake, the recovery process is just beginning, and we cannot forget our Caribbean neighbors who are also suffering. I tell you, the supplemental, Mr. Speaker, it's a good first step. It's a good first step in a very long process, but we must provide more long-term assistance to help communities rebuild and to help recover very quickly. And we must leave no one behind. Thank you, and I yield the balance of my time.
Time of the gentlelady has expired. Gentleman from New Jersey.
Mr. Chairman, I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlelady from New York. I'm sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to be here with my partner, our chairman, Mr. Frelinghuysen. I know that he understands, as we all do, this is not a Republican or Democratic issue. This is an issue, this is our responsibility to face the tremendous challenge that we see. People are suffering, schools are closed, more than 3/4 of the island does not have any energy, no clean water, need for food, need for basic services. So I'm very pleased to work with the chairman of the committee, Mr. Frelinghuysen, and I know that we will both be going to the island, Puerto Rico, to actually see firsthand what has to be done, and it's clear it has to be done now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Does the gentlelady yield back?
I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman
Mr.
from
Chairman,
New Jersey.
an additional speaker would like to make some remark. Lloyd Smucker, pleased to recognize the gentleman from Pennsylvania for 2 minutes.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I
had the opportunity to travel to Puerto Rico this past Saturday with a bipartisan group of legislators. Traveled there with Congresswoman Gonzalez, who has been an absolutely outstanding advocate for Puerto Rico during this difficult time. A few takeaways from that. One, it's a sobering experience to see how widespread the devastation was on the island. Every single aspect of the island of Puerto Rico was affected. Secondly, the full commitment of the Department of Defense, of FEMA, of every government agency, federal government agency, and the effort to recovery that is being conducted in conjunction with the governor and folks on the ground in Puerto Rico is great to see. It's an effective initial recovery effort that has saved and has sustained lives. Millions of meals and millions of bottles of water distributed. Third takeaway, this will require a sustained, active, and effective effort. So I want to thank the chairman for introducing this bill today, which is absolutely necessary to bringing back the economy on the island of Puerto Rico. The top priority now is to rebuild the grid, which is absolutely essential to getting the economy in Puerto Rico moving. That's why we need this aid package. It's an important step along the long road to recovery for our fellow citizens in Puerto Rico, as well as for all of those impacted by hurricanes in the south and those out west battling wildfires. One thing I saw as well, the American people come to the assistance of other citizens in need. And that's true whether it's in Houston, Florida, or in Puerto Rico. So again, I'd like to thank the chair for introducing this package, and I urge my colleagues to support it. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New Jersey.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to associate my remarks with Mr. Smucker of Pennsylvania, as well as with my colleague, Ms. Lowy from New York. On our committee, we try to get the work of the nation done, and at this point in history, we've had some incredible tragedies and natural disasters, and as a group, as this House, we must act quickly to ensure that the federal government fulfills its duty to millions of Americans in need, whether they're from Texas or whether they're from Florida or whether they're from Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands. They're all citizens, whether they're from the West that have been fighting these deadly fires. They deserve our support. This will be the second installment of emergency funding. There will be others. I know people are concerned that not every state's need is met, but this is, I think, a good step in the right direction. And I urge all my colleagues to support this legislation, and so we can get this money out the door as quickly as possible. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back his time. All time has expired. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and agree to Resolution 569? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
On that, I request a recorded vote.
Does the gentleman request the yeas and nays?
I do.
Yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of taking this vote by the yeas and nays will rise and remain standing until counted. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed.
here for Napa County. To touch on that and where we're at in terms of the fire, I would like to invite Chief Barry Bierman.
Good morning, Barry Bierman, Deputy Chief for CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 3 and the Napa County Fire Chief. Well, first off, the good news really is the wind event that was predicted to blow through the night in today did materialize quite to the level as predicted. So that gave us a better opportunity to have more containment on our fires. We're still in red flag conditions as we have low humidities today until late this afternoon, early evening. However, the winds are still predicted to diminish through the day. We just have lowering humidities. We made some good progress yesterday in areas, and we also had some challenges. We still have fire growth on some of our fire in different directions. We have a threat that's continuing in multiple areas into structures. Those areas, we issued some more mandatory evacuation areas yesterday in the Sonoma County area, and those fires are still causing us problems, and we're trying to address that. Additional resources continue to come into these incidents, which is starting to give us the upper hand, allowing us to switch over from just going from strictly structured defense and protecting lives to actually getting some containment started in certain areas of the fire and making sure it's out. But we still have to remember our number one priority is taking care of the lives of the public out there and making sure their properties are safe. So as more and more resources come in, we will continue to get additional containment on these fires. Those numbers will start to go up, and we're hoping that the weather continues to cooperate and be mild and allow us the opportunity to make good progress. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chris Childs, and I'm the commander of the Napa CHP office. This morning, I'd like to report that CHP resources continue to come in from all over Northern California. We've had them as far away as Redding and Alturas and as far south as Fresno. Your CHP continues to work diligently to ensure the safety of the roadways and the people of Napa County. And speaking of the safety of roadways, I'd like to remind the public that closures are hard closures. We're not allowing people back through now because we have work crews in the area, critical safety personnel. You've got people with critical infrastructure that need to get through. We still have power lines down. We still have smoldering poles. So we're asking the public to please respect our road closures. If you are asked to leave, if there are any further evacuations, I'd like to continue to remind the public to take your small pets or larger pets if you can, and please ensure that you have all your medications with you so that we can ensure that you are safe wherever you are evacuated to. Finally, I'd like to remind everyone that we are working closely together with Napa County, the Sheriff's Department. We've got Napa Police Department that we're working with, and all the critical public safety personnel. I'm proud to say that we work great as a team. And then finally, a reminder that we are using our social media to get the word out as our cellular service comes back in Napa County. Please use those resources to get the most recent updates from the Highway Patrol and the other agencies. Thank you.
Good morning, John Robertson, Napa County Sheriff. First of all, I'd like to thank our mutual aid agencies, law enforcement agencies, and their outpouring of resources that are going to give us the ability today to start doing escorts for people with critical needs to go back into some of these areas that are closed behind road closures. So we will be starting those actually as we speak right now. We're starting them at 9 o'clock at the intersection of Silverado Trail and Monticello Road in front of the Nob Hill parking lot. Thank you.
At this time, we will go into giving updates on each of the individual fires from our supervisors. At this time, I'd like to invite Supervisor Dillon and Mayor Chris Canning, Mayor of Calistoga.
Thank you all for being here this morning. My name is Diane Dillon, D-I-A-N-E, D-I-L-L-O-N. I'm the supervisor for District 3, which is the northern half of the county. Here to talk about the Tubbs Fire, which originally started adjacent to Calistoga and spread over into Santa Rosa and is now back most active in the Calistoga area, which is why I'm joined by the mayor. The Tubbs Fire is now over 34,000 acres burned, but the most recent activity again is in northern Napa County. It is 10% contained, but by no means does that mean that we are out of danger with regard to the Tubbs fire. Mayor Canning will handle the rest of the Tubbs fire report.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Chris Canning. I'm the mayor of the city of Calistoga. As most of you are aware, we are under a mandatory evacuation for the entire city. We have been since yesterday. Happy to report, despite some previous incorrect reporting from some of the media, there is currently no fire activity inside of the city limits of Calistoga. There are no structures impacted, anything of that nature. With that said, we are facing a very serious condition. The fire is becoming closer to the city limits. We have some incredible people in Calistoga, our first responders, mutual aid from around the county, the state, Cal Fire, Napa County Fire, our friends to the south in St. Helena especially been fantastic, as well as Sheriff Robertson mentioned the mutual aid support we're getting from law enforcement. This is a mandatory evacuation. Your presence in Calistoga is not welcome if you are not a first responder. Your choice to stay, and there have been very few of them, is a distraction to our first responders. You will not be given life safety support at this point. You are on your own. If you're trying to visit Calistoga, you are not welcome. That is very hard for us to say because we have been known since the 1800s as a very hospitable community. That's not helpful at this point. Please keep us in your thoughts. To the Calistogans out there who are scattered around, stay strong. Thank you.
Hello, thanks for being here. My name is Ryan Gregory. I'm Napa County Supervisor, District 2. There are still 2 fires working over in District 2. There's the Partridge fire. It's at 10,000 acres burn, and please report 2% containment. The Nuns fire is at 14,000 acres and at 3% contained. Now, both fires are very close to each other, so it's likely tomorrow we're talking about one fire. They've all connected, and they're now one. I'm heartened by what I saw yesterday. I took a run up there with our fire chief. I saw, we went up to the top where the fire jumped over Mount Veeder Road, but I'm pleased to say that most of the fire is still on the west side of Mount Veeder. And I saw a few things that just make it, that reminded me why it's so important that we can't go back in there until it's safe. We saw power poles that had burned from the bottom, 15-inch power pole that's down to a little stub like this at the bottom. It will fall. We saw trees on fire, and they will fall. So this is why it's not safe to go back there until we tell you it's safe, until PG&E's gone up there and done their work and everybody else. So bear with us as we continue to fight the fire, contain the fire, and then and get people back home. It's going to take a while, and thanks for your patience. Up next is Supervisor Wagenknecht. Thank you.
I am not Supervisor Wagenknecht. Supervisor Alfredo Pedroza from the 4th District, and thank you for being here again. I want to provide you an update on the Atlas Peak fire. As of this morning, we had over 43,000 acres burnt at 3% containment. We're actively fighting the fire. And to all the constituents of District 4, thank you for your patience. As Supervisor Gregory alluded to about his district, there's a lot of devastation out there. But I am also happy to report, because of the good work of our Sheriff's Department, PG&E, AT&T, CAL FIRE, we're actively talking about when can people go back into their homes, when can we open some of the roadblocks. We're having active discussions, more good news to come hopefully here shortly, but it's really a team effort. And again, I can't underscore the patience from all the residents of District 4, very much appreciated. You have a community that's standing with you, working hard for you. We do have some folks still at the shelters. We were there yesterday. Those are Napa Valley College and also Solano. And I also see folks from the Community Foundation there. We have established an account for some donations. And again, I want to underscore how generous this community is. Unfortunately, we've done this before. We've done tragedy. We've done earthquakes and flooding. And this community comes together in ways that we can't even think about today. So if you could visit the Community Foundation website for donations as well, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Up next, Supervisor Wagenknecht.
Thank you. I am Supervisor Wagenknecht this time. I've got some news on the advisory evacuation, and this is the area that it's a result of the Atlas Peak fire. everything east of Highway 121 from Monticello Road, everything east of Silverado Trail between Trancas and Soskell, everything east of Soskell Avenue between Silverado and West Imola. This is all following basically the Highway 121 coming down, and everything east of Highway 29 between Highway 121 and Jameson Canyon, and then finally everything north of Jameson Canyon between Highway 12 and the Napa Solano County line. Now, an advisory evacuation is not a hard time to leave your home. It's mainly a warning to let you know that you're in an area that if fire conditions change, it could change rapidly and you could be having a hard evacuation. What we've done is gotten a couple of suitcases, put them in our car. We're ready to go when the evacuation order does come. All mandatory evacuations are still in place. We have a number of evacuation centers. We had 658 people staying in evacuation centers last night. The Crosswalk Community Church is still one at 2591st Street. The Napa Valley College Gym at 2277 Napa Vallejo Highway is still operating. The Solano Community College Library parking lot at 4000 Sassoon Valley Road in Fairfield, and that's mainly for folks from the kind of over the hill from us here. And the American Canyon High School at 3000 Newell Road at 3000 Newell Road, and that's in the city of American Canyon. That opened up with the need from the evacuation of Calistoga. We still have animals that are being taken care of. Solano County Fairgrounds, 900 Fairgrounds Drive in Vallejo is taking large animals still, and household pets are being taken to the animal shelter. A lot of the evacuation centers have pets that are working with them. The Napa Valley College Gym, Crosswalk Church, all of those are having some pets. Finally, I just want to reiterate for today, safe and well, www.safeandwell.org. This is the best way to get yourself listed as a person who's looking for somebody and somebody who's looking both ways. It's that getting them together, and so keep doing safe and well. Thank you.
At this time, we continue to have power outages in Napa County. As of Wednesday, we had 5,400 residents still out of power. We are working closely with CAL FIRE and PG&E. PG&E is on the scenes. They have deployed a base camp here, and to report, they have restored power to approximately 25,000 residents since the beginning of this fire incident. In the coming days, they'll continue to deploy their crews, and as I said yesterday, they are expecting a nearly 800-member crew team from around various service areas, including mutual aid gas crews coming from Southern California. Stay tuned for more information about connectivity. Certainly, as the information is changing, and as you heard, it's favorable, at least for the Atlas fire, and we remain very vigilant when it comes to Calistoga. Getting that information to our residents is key, and we thank all of our media partners for being a partner in that. Today at 4 p.m., we will host a community meeting that will be streamed online and live on the county's Facebook page, and present at the physical location of 2425 Jefferson Street in Napa. That's the Napa Valley Unified School District Auditorium. I want to reiterate, you do not need to come down to the auditorium to be aware of this information. We will Facebook Live it. We will stream it. We're going to have all those resources up. I trust that our local radio station will broadcast it out to our residents. So no need to come on down. If it's troublesome, we don't want you being on the roadways if you don't need to, but there is a venue for that. Again, 2425 Jefferson Street in Napa today at 4 p.m. At 6 p.m., we will have a Spanish-speaking community meeting at St. John the Baptist Church located at 960 Camas Street. That's at 6 p.m., Spanish-speaking. That will only be in Spanish. Napa County is continuing to share information through our website and through our social media platforms of Facebook and Twitter. We're also on Nixle. By now, I certainly hope if you're in Napa County, you have loved ones in Napa County, that you have registered for Nixle. That is our go-to place to get information out to you, especially in an emergency. Text your zip code to 888-777. The very active zip codes right now are 94515 for the city of Calistoga and 94558 for all the other fires, including Nuns, Atlas Peak, Patrick Carneros. We're continuing to coordinate through our media partners, and we thank you all for being here. And we do ask Napa County employees to continue to check in with their immediate supervisors. It is absolutely heartening to see the tremendous amount of support and mutual aid that we have received. And I would like to say on behalf of Napa County and the Napa County Board of Supervisors, we are grateful for the cooperation from our cities. And as you can see behind me, all our mayors are present. We are in this together. We are responding as Napa, and that is the entirety of Napa. And we could not do this without the tremendous support of our state and federal representatives present with us today to provide support and to carry the message straight back to Sacramento is also our Lieutenant Governor, Gavin Newsom. At this time, I would like to introduce Congressman Thompson and Senator Dodd to talk about that state and federal aid that is coming our way.
Thank you very much. I'm Bill Dodd, state senator in this district. I was very heartened to be at the fairgrounds this morning for the 7 a.m. Briefing by CAL FIRE. And let me tell you, make no mistake about it, we've got a professional team there, literally 500 to 1,000 firefighters there getting ready to get out, and they were briefed. And I'm just very, very pleased. We have fire units probably from all 58 counties and most cities that are embedded in these counties. I too am appreciative of, also we have the California National Guard that's also here in full force. I'm appreciative of our Lieutenant Governor, Gavin Newsom, for being here today, and our leader in the Senate yesterday, Kevin De Leon, flew up from Los Angeles to survey what was going on, and we remained vigilant and moving forward to support everybody in this endeavor. Thank you.
I'm Mike Thompson, the congressman from this district. I want to thank Bill and the legislature and Lieutenant Governor. Thank you for your interest in and your help that you're providing. I want to give you a little update on the resources that are coming into the area. We learned yesterday that there's 900 additional firefighters coming to the combined effort of Sonoma, Napa, and Lake County, along with 123 additional engines coming to respond. So this is a number one priority within the state. Bill mentioned the mutual aid among the state. There's also tremendous mutual aid across the country. From the beginning, we've had units here from Nevada and Arizona. Yesterday, we were told that we would be joined shortly by units from Washington and Oregon. And within 5 minutes after learning this, 2 Washington State units drove right down the street. So they're engaged, they're coming. We have mutual aid coming from southern states and as far east as the state of Pennsylvania right now. The Department of Defense is doing an inventory along with the state to figure out what sort of resources they can provide, and once that's figured out, they will be used as needed. There's also international mutual aid, and I think that's important to note. We have folks coming from Canada and from Australia to help on this fire. In addition to that, I want to publicly thank our congressional leaders. Senator Feinstein is on her way here, and she's been on the phone numerous times with me trying to figure out how she can help. And that's the same with Democratic Leader Pelosi and Republican Leader Kevin McCarthy. Both of them have called me a number of times. They're fully engaged. And I think we're going to see a little bit of that effort come to fruition today. The House is going to pass the emergency supplemental legislation. There's going to be about $1 billion plus up in that to help respond to these issues. There's money will be passed for FEMA relief for not only our disaster, but the other ones that are hurting the people of our country. But it is with a close eye to what's happening here in California that those votes will be cast today, and that bill will in fact pass. Thank you very much.
To the residents of Napa County, I say you have heard that the world, literally the world, loves you, and support is on the way. Keep cheering for your fire crews. Keep cheering for your law enforcement maintaining those roadblocks, your roads crews, PG&E, and all communications for helping you get back online. We're in this together. You are well supported from the top down, as is evident here today. We're going to get through this together, and we're seeing some good news, and we will have better days for sure. At this time, we will take questions. Yes.
I have two questions about Napa, and I'm not sure. Actually, I was up in the Silverado neighborhood on Monday, and we were watching fire crews try to put out some of the homes, try to tap into some fire hydrants, and there was no water. The fire chief in the city was up there, and he thought that there should be water. Does anyone know about that?
The only thing I can speak to is we have had some damage occur in some of our water facilities, or at least one for sure, and I'm not sure if that's affected by it. We also have large storage tanks that are for the water, and if those pumps are down or if electricity is down, water could become an issue. I have not heard about those particular issues occurring, but there's definitely a possibility with this fire affecting so many different communities.
And then just to follow up, we're getting a lot, all of us, I'm sure, tweets and texts from people wanting to know, for instance, in the Silverado Country Club neighborhood, when they might be able to go back in.
Well, I can tell you from just about the moment we get here, that is always in the back of our mind. We want people back into their properties when it's safe to do so. We want you to be able to get back in there to make sure your property is secure. So that plan is being evaluated hourly. We are working on it. We hope we can have something soon of some areas that might be safe to get into, but that'll be forthcoming. But it's definitely something that the moment we start attacking a fire, we immediately want to get people back in. So that is in progress right now.
Chief, could you give an update how close the fire is to Calistoga? And the second question, how big a factor is fatigue? Firefighters out there on the line.
Fatigue is a serious factor. It's something that safety is our top priority, and that safety of the people we're out there to help protect, and safety of our crews. And so we are finding people on the line that have just been going to work and staying out there for day after day after day. We're identifying them, we're getting them in as soon as we can to get rest, especially now that we have more reinforcements coming. And it's that fine line. We have people that have been on that fire for over 3 days that don't want to leave their section of line because there's still work to do, there's homes to save, and they're very passionate about it. I mean, we're public service employees, and that's what everyone does, is that we're here to help. And so, at some point, you hit the roadblock, and we're pulling them in for safety, we're getting them rested, and we're telling them they can re-engage as soon as we get some rest. So that is serious.
Which one are you most concerned about now today?
Which one? Well, it's hard to say. I would say that it's not which fire, it's which part of which fire are we concerned about. And so obviously a huge priority right now is the Tubbs fire, which is being managed by another CAL FIRE management team. However, it's in the Napa Valley. That is a significant concern as that fire threatens to come back into Calistoga. There's a lot of homes in there. We have the same thing going on in Napa County. Probably the biggest threat is our east side as that continues to spread and move out into Solano County, up into the Berryessa area. In Sonoma County, we have fire that's encroaching on numerous communities throughout Sonoma, including Sonoma City, where we did evacuations last night, structure defense. There were residents that were burning last night when the winds came up over on that side. So it's a matter of what part of what fire do we have concerns, and there are numerous still for sure. We have a long way to go.
what's being done right now as far as finding a cause? Are we any closer to determining place or location a cause?
All fires always get investigated, and all the fires for this incident and the other ones around us are being investigated. I do not know where the status is, and I have not heard any reports on to what the cause was, but they will be thoroughly evaluated because obviously this is significant. And so all things will be ruled out. Cause will come out for all these fires eventually, but for right now, I'm not sure where we are other than I know they're all being investigated.
You haven't heard anything about transformers or anything of that sort?
I have not heard a single word about a cause on any one of these issues, or these incidents, I should say.
Do you have any reports about missing people?
Do I? You know, I'd have to refer to the sheriff to talk about missing people.
Yes, we are checking with families and friends, and we're exploring missing people, missing persons. Unfortunately, people take off. They stay with friends. They might leave and go to a place of safety, is far away, and stay in a hotel. And unless they're using the websites that we've suggested, we don't have a way of finding them. So.
A phone number that you want people to call once they have located their.
I think they gave you a website. Yeah.
To reiterate, the website in which you can register if you're an evacuee or you're looking for a family member is www.safeandwell.org. Questions?
What can you tell about the Presley fire? Is that in this complex, or is that a different complex, one of the smaller ones? Is that the Presley fire? Is that in this complex, or is that a different?
Yeah, it's one of the numerous fires. We can refer to the maps here about how we have Presley. It's a small fire over there. That's probably Presley and Adobe of all the fires that combine. That those two fires have not combined over there yet, Presley and Adobe.
Hey guys, checking in with you from the digital studio. We're just looking at this press conference from earlier this morning, just giving all the updates on the Napa and Sonoma County fires. It seems to be still a pretty dire situation over there. I think the number now confirmed dead is 23, and they were giving the latest update in this press conference. So we're going to watch this through and then jump over to this scene right here inside the White House press briefing room, where that is about to get started shortly. So we're going to make sure we catch that when Sarah Sanders comes up to the podium. So for now, we'll finish out with this press conference from just a few hours ago on the latest updates.
Those are the most frequent requests. Also, people have business needs. There are several wineries located in the areas of evacuation, and they need to get generators and equipment and things like that in. I also want to be specific. This includes our areas here, in our evacuations here. This does not include the city of Calistoga. There's no escorts going back into Calistoga. Okay.
This concludes our press conference for today. Stay tuned for a press conference tomorrow at 9 a.m. And to the residents of Napa, be safe, and we love you very much.
Greg, do you see East Room on the rack? Do you see the East Room at the rack? Okay, just do, plug in and plug out on both the boxes. Everything's about to start. So here's the other thing. All right, just to make sure that they're looking at you the right way, if you're going east or west, make sure they're looking at the right drop. Okay. All right, also check that there's spigots on the box. Okay. Check that there are 5 different spigots on the box. Feels like it's been 2 minutes. 4 minutes.
Good afternoon. We'll jump right in. I've got a couple of brief announcements. Today at 5:45 p.m., the White House will hold a background briefing for reporters regarding the administration's Iran strategy. Then at 12:45 tomorrow, the president will deliver remarks announcing the strategy to the country. Further details on both of those events will be forthcoming. Until then, I know you guys have lots of questions. And although I really enjoy answering them every single day, especially your more serious policy-focused questions that we tend to ask and hear, I thought it would be nice, since we're at the White House and we have the option of calling in the Marines, that today we might call in one of our favorites, General Kelly, So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the Chief of Staff and let him make some opening comments and answer your questions today. And after he concludes, of course, our team will be around later this afternoon to answer any further questions. Thanks, guys.
Well, good afternoon. Great to be here. A couple of comments, I guess, and then open it up for Q&A. I would have to tell you that coming into the job as the Chief of Staff, I had decided to not do too much with the press until I got my feet on the ground and figured out what base I was on any given day. Prior to this, when I was at DHS and certainly as a Marine general officer, interacted with the press a great deal. But coming into this job, I really needed to get to know the lay of the land. I have done, I think, 3 off the records. The first one of which was, of course, violated. But thank you for all of you that didn't violate the trust from those off the record periods. I would just offer to you that although I read it all the time, pretty consistently, I'm not quitting today. I don't believe, and I just talked to the president, I don't think I'm being fired today. And I am not so frustrated in this job that I'm thinking of leaving. I would tell you, this is the hardest job I've ever had. This is, in my view, the most important job I ever had. I would offer, though, it is not the best job I ever had. Best job I ever had, as I've said many times, is when I was an enlisted Marine sergeant infantryman. That was the best job I ever had. So unless things change, I'm not quitting, I'm not getting fired, and I don't think I'll fire anyone tomorrow. So with that, John.
General Kelly, if I could, you said you're not so frustrated that you're thinking of leaving, but are you frustrated?
No, I'm not frustrated. This is really, really hard work, running the United States of America. I don't run it, but I'm working for someone who is dedicated to serving the country in the way that he's talked about for a number of years. There are incredible challenges, economic challenges, healthcare challenges, all of that, obviously international challenges that have to be dealt with. I don't mean any criticism to Mr. Trump's predecessors, but there was an awful lot of things that were, in my view, kicked down the road that have come home to roost pretty much right now that have to be dealt with. This is hard work, John. And my only frustration, with all due respect to everyone in the room, is when I come to work in the morning and read about things I allegedly said or things that Mr. Trump allegedly said or people who were going to be fired or whatever, and it's just not true. That's my frustration. I mean no disrespect to y'all. I don't know all the names, so you.
I appreciate that, and thank you for coming out here today. We hope to see you more often. Let's go to one of the hard things that is facing you right now, the situation in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And since you're here to speak for the president, let's talk about his tweet this morning. Does President Trump believe that the people of Puerto Rico are American citizens who deserve the same access to federal aid as the people who live in Texas and Florida?
Yes.
What is his tweet about then?
Which tweet?
The tweet where he says that we can't be in Puerto Rico forever.
I think he said the U.S. military and FEMA can't be there forever. Right?
He did, yes.
Okay.
First responders,
First responders. The minute you go anywhere as a first responder, and this would apply certainly to the military, you are trying very hard, working very hard to work yourself out of a job. There will be a period in which we hope sooner rather than later to where the U.S. military and FEMA, generally speaking, can withdraw because then the government and the people of Puerto Rico are recovering sufficiently to start the process of rebuilding. I just got off the phone. I've talked to him many times with the governor of Puerto Rico. Great relationship. President deals with him periodically. We saw him when we were down there last week. So, this country, our country, will stand with those American citizens in Puerto Rico until the job is done. But the tweet about FEMA and DOD, read military, is exactly accurate. They're not going to be there forever. And the whole point is to start to work yourself out of a job and then transition to the rebuilding process. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm Dr. Anthony Harper with the Intermountain Christian News and Christian Newspaper Association, and in light of the president in support of pulling out of UNESCO, What would the president's response, to UNRWA defunding, which is a UN agency that has been in the schools, specifically inciting kids to violence against the Jews, and our tax dollars going into that? Do you have any statement about, in light of UNESCO pulling out, about UNRWA?
No, I mean, I'm not as familiar probably as I should be with it. I would just offer that the responsible way to look at any program, and certainly when I went to DHS, and I did this in Iraq and other places I've been, when we're expending U.S. taxpayer money, we should look at every program and decide whether it is being successful. If it's not being successful, then change it so it can be successful, or sometimes you just say it's not going to work. Go ahead.
Follow-up to that would be, the Prime Minister just came out today, there was a release, the government press office in Israel. Prime Minister welcomed the withdrawal from UNESCO, and I had met with the Prime Minister of Israel in May about the UNRWA issue. He's very concerned. He made a statement in the Jerusalem Post not too long ago in denouncing UNRWA, so I thought it would be...
I'd have to get more familiar, sorry.
General Kelly, Margaret Brennan.
Yep.
Yes, thank you very much for coming out and doing this. You focused a lot on process and establishing processes here at the White House. I'm wondering if you can explain...
Is this the iron hand that I brought to the staff?
No, but did you?
No.
Is that how you see it? You don't see that you have an iron hand?
Just put some organization to it.
Well, can you explain...
Put a smile on my face. Although you guys with the cameras always catch me when I'm thinking hard, and it looks like I'm frustrated and mad.
Yeah, what is your frustrated face?
Huh?
But back to the question. Can you explain what the process was with this Pakistan raid, what the president's involvement was, how you sort of...
Pakistan raid?
The Pakistan raid to release these Americans who... Caitlin Coleman and her family.
Oh, no,
the level...
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
The level of the president's involvement and awareness and...
No, I think we have, roughly 20. In fact, about... with 4 of them, the 3 children, of course, being U.S. citizens and the mother, we've now reduced, I'm not making a joke here, but we've now reduced the number of hostages by almost a third. But that's not to take away from all of unfortunate people that are still being held hostage. I'll use the term partners in Pakistan. We've been watching for the family. What can I say? I'm not making up a lie here. I'm just staying within the classification. Let me just say the Pakistanis, great partners in this regard that they are, and I think there's been a change. Hopefully there'll be a change in the cooperative relationship between the United States and in Pakistan. But the good news is the Pakistani officials got custody of the American citizens, 4 American citizens, 3 children, 1 adult female. And then, of course, the husband is a Canadian citizen. Took them into custody, held them for us, not for us, held them. We had arrangements to transport them back to the United States or to Canada, any way they wanted to go. Medical treatment along the way. A lot of this, of course, would be psychological treatment. They've been essentially living in a hole for 5 years. I mean, that's the kind of people we're dealing with over there. Luckily, and thank God that the Pakistani officials have took them into custody, so to speak, from the forces of evil in that part of the world, and they're being cared for now as we speak.
Can you speak, though, about the president's role in that?
As a flag rank officer, gentleman with knowledge of world affairs, certainly you know the quote from Prime Minister Macmillan, events, events, events. Yeah. What are the events that keep you, let's say, concerned, awake at night, in terms of global affairs?
Well, I mean, they're the big ones. Actually, we get a nuclear threat from North Korea, a possible nuclear threat in time by the Iranians. Probably the biggest threat, the biggest concern, and it's not an immediate concern, if this continues in North Korea, if eventually other countries, I'll let it go at that, become nuclear powers. Obviously, we already have some out there. There'll be a real impetus for a lot of countries to develop or buy nuclear weapons. I would tell you this, in spite of what someone reported the other day about President, and I don't think he'd mind my sharing this, what he's said to me many, many times, and to the group oftentimes. I hear him most say about nuclear weapons that wouldn't be great if we could get rid of them all, as opposed to we need 10 times more. So even more than when he references the maintenance of nuclear weapons modernization, that doesn't mean increase in numbers. I hear him say more, talk more about, wouldn't it be great? How could we get rid of nuclear weapons? So not a lot keeps him up at night. I mean, the good news is out there we have a great State Department doing the diplomacy thing night and day. As Jim Mattis and I have many, many times said when we're in uniform, if we don't fund the State Department properly, buy us more bullets. So out there in the world, you've got the State Department doing what it does every day, and all the rest of the great Americans that are working those kind of issues. And you got the U.S. military, the greatest military on the planet. We don't like to think in terms of things turning military, but that's always an option. The great thing about our military is it's a real deterrent factor around the world, whether it's nuclear deterrent or conventional deterrent. All right, you.
Just to get back to a thing that happened a couple of days ago. The president tweeted, the problem with agreeing to a policy on immigration is that the Democrats don't want secure borders. They don't care about safety for USA. Do you think that's a fair characterization?
How I would put it is that there's an element within, first of all, let me step back and say, I believe that honest men and women can disagree on anything politically or otherwise. The one thing I draw a little bit of a line to is on the security of the nation. There are certainly people in our country that have the opinion that that open borders or near open borders are fine. People should be able to come and go. There are others, myself included. You can bet the president. But I think the majority of Americans feel as though security on the borders is important. Now, how you achieve that is a different story. I believe I have great relationships with the Mexicans. We have great relationships with the Mexicans on the border. They're in the counter-drug fight with the United States. In fact, in my view, suffer more from the our drug demand, which we don't seem to address. We're trying to now under the Trump administration. But places like Mexico, Central America suffer more from our drug demand and do more in many ways to stop that drug flow than we do in our own country. I was recently down in Mexico before I took this job and flew into Sinaloa and saw Mexican military risking their lives, pulling out tens of thousands of poppy plants that are eventually turned into heroin and eventually consumed by Americans. But we need to secure our borders, and that includes the maritime, our ports. We have unbelievably dedicated men and women, CVP, DHS, that are doing that every day. We need to reinforce what they're doing down on the border. We definitely need more wall or physical barrier. We have about 600 miles of that border now secured by some type of physical barrier. By the way, the Secure Fence Act in 2006, you ought to check it out. Who voted for that? Certainly Senator Obama did, I believe, Senator Hillary Clinton, Senator Chuck Schumer, all voted for it. And we have a worse situation on our southern border. And I'm condemning Mexico here again. They're great partners, but we have a worse situation on our borders 10 years later, yet there's this unbelievable resistance to securing our border. And again, some of that is physical barrier. All of that for sure is people, technology, things like that. So we have to secure our borders. And this includes, as I say, our ports, New York, Boston, Houston. Don't have nearly the issues on the northern border with Canada. Great partnerships there. But the problem with our southern border is the drug flow and the illegal immigration flow rides on a network that right now comes up through into the Western Hemisphere from abroad, up through Mexico, Central America, Mexico, and into the United States. Got to do something about it. Yes, sir.
You talk about frustrations. Peel back the curtain for us, since you're in a first row vantage point with the president. What are his frustrations right now? And secondly, a big decision that's going to be upcoming is the Fed chair position, possibly here in the next few weeks or upcoming months. Where does that stand? How actively is the administration engaging that at this moment?
one of his frustrations is you, all of you, not all of you, but many of you. As I said, when I first started talking, again, I'm a reasonable guy, but when I read in the morning, I read well, I won't tell you what I read, but and watch TV in the morning, it is astounding to me how much is misreported. I will give you the benefit of the doubt that you are operating off of contacts, leaks, whatever you call them. But I would just offer to you the advice. I'd say, maybe develop some better sources. Some person that works way down inside an office, or well, just develop some better sources. The Congress has been frustrating to him. Of course, our government is designed to be slow, and it is. His sense, I think, as a man who is outside of the Washington arena, a businessman, much more of a man of action. I would say his great frustration is the process that he now finds himself, because in his view, the solutions are obvious. Whether it's tax cuts and tax reform, health care, infrastructure programs, strengthening our military. To him, these all seem like obvious things that need to be done to protect the American people, bring jobs back. These are all the things that he sees as vital to protect the American people, to advance American economy and whatnot. And the process is so slow and so hard sometimes to deal with. So I think those two things.
And the Fed, where does everything stand with the Fed right now? Are you guys days away, weeks away?
Some time away. I mean, there's still ongoing interviews, but every candidate. I mean, I'm trying to learn about things that have to do with what you're talking about. But all of the people that have been into interview have been really first-round draft choices, and we have more to come. And it's a very measured process. He has great, obviously, advisors to help him make that decision.
Thank you. President Trump.
Are the people in the front row like the most important people, or is it? No. No, seriously, how do you end up?
We're the cannon fodder. We're the first in line when they start shooting.
Okay.
General Kelly, thank you so much, and thanks for being here today. President Trump, in recent days, has gotten into a bit of a war of words with Senator Bob Corker, the latest Republican who he's had a public feud with. As his chief of staff, are you concerned that he's jeopardizing his agenda by feuding with members of his own party?
I'm not. I mean, he's a straightforward guy. The president is. That's the one thing I've found he is. I have found him, 9 weeks in the job, willing to work with anyone to advance the agenda being what's good for America, what protects America. You've seen him reach out to these people on the other side of the aisle. I think, not to get into, well, let me just say that when members of Congress say things that are unfair or critical, the president has a right to defend himself. When I read about things that are what I would perceive to be unfair or critical, unnecessarily critical, I will call members of Congress and just ask, is there anything I can do to help you with that misconception you have, or maybe explain to you why I did this or that. Oftentimes, members of Congress that I talk to will say, geez, I didn't realize it came out that way, I'm sorry, or no, I meant it, but it was kind of a grown-up comment, and so I'll take that to the president and say, but then there's others that are, as the president would say, grandstanding. I'm not saying Senator Corker's that way, I'm just saying that some people grandstand and kind of enjoy the attention. Of course, I've talked to
But in the
Corker.
wake of this recent
I've talked to both
fight,
Corker. Yeah.
And do his tweets make your job more difficult, General Kelly?
No. I mean, the job of the chief of staff is to staff the president, give him the best advice, or go get the best advice I can give him, help him consume advice, help him work through the decision-making process in an informed way. But that's my job, and that's what I do.
General, one question on Cuba, if I may, sir. The question on Cuba.
You got it next. I'll go to you next.
Is it me or him?
Does the president believe that the Cuban government is directly responsible for these attacks on Americans? And does the president plan on closing the U.S. embassy in Cuba? And is the president aware of the visa crisis for Cuban
All right, what's
families?
the rule? How many questions can you ask? We believe that the Cuban government could stop the attacks on our diplomats. Now you.
We're waiting for the president to make a decision tomorrow about the Iran nuclear deal. Can you talk broadly about the strategy to counter Iran nefarious activities in the region? And will you list the Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization, as some member of the Congress has suggested?
I think I know that we have great partners in the Persian Gulf region, the Arabian Gulf. Clearly, we have a war that we're seeing every day being won in Iraq against ISIS. I mean, in the last 9 months, I never thought I'd ever feel sorry for them, but they're getting crushed every day. The caliphate's gone. We see them trying to escape from Iraq and get into Europe and places like that, which should cause Europeans much concern. But back on your question about Iran, the partners in the region we're very close with, great relationships with. We're out there. We have footprints on the ground, naval and air forces there, to just demonstrate our resolve, our friendship, and to try to deter anything that any country out there may do. So that's the approach we're taking to Iran right now. Clearly, the president has he's deep in thought, to say the least, about way ahead in Iran. And once again, he's not the only one that thinks that maybe the deal that was struck under the previous administration is a deal that, in the long term, even in the medium and long term, will protect America. Go ahead.
Thank you, General. I wanted
Go
to
ahead.
ask you about the effort to repeal and replace Obamacare. As we saw just a few moments ago, the president signed an executive order that he says will bring more choices for Americans, will lower premiums for Americans as well. It's October the 12th. He's been in office since January the 20th. Is there any particular reason why he didn't sign this executive order his first week in office? What's taken him so long? And my other question, if I may, General, the other question is very important. Do you blame Senator McConnell, the leader of the Senate, for the failure to repeal and replace Obamacare?
Yeah. On the first question, and I came in late to all of this, but the idea was, and it is a great question, all of what was in that executive order today, there was a sense that had the big bill passed, all of that would have been taken care of. So since the big bill didn't pass, and we probably won't have a health care bill until, say, the spring, this was a way to take care of as many Americans as he could legally with an executive order. As far as the second question goes, the Congress is an extremely complicated. It's designed to be an extremely complicated, slow-moving part of our government. I have nothing but respect for members of Congress and the staffs that work so hard for them. Sometimes it's like talking to Nancy Pelosi once. She's the leader, but boy, is it really hard to lead. I'd say the same thing about the majority leader in the Senate. There are 100 or whatever, 100 members of Congress that look to their states, have their own political baggage to deal with, and they're not always reliable on every vote to vote the way that the president or Mitch McConnell wants to vote. So, okay. One more. Who's the lucky one?
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, congratulations.
On what?
For your new job.
Yeah.
Sir, as far as U.S.-India relations are concerned, recently many tragedies have taken place here, and Indian American community and India paid a tribute on 9/11 at the Georgetown University in cooperation with the Indian Embassy and also at the Gandhi Center, as far as the tragedy in Las Vegas is concerned. My question is that Indian Ambassador Mr. Sarna said that time has come now US India should stand together against all these terrorism. And same thing, Prime Minister Modi, when he was here at the White House, he told President Trump that India is with the US anytime, anywhere as far as fighting against terrorism. So where do we stand, sir, today as far as US-India relations are concerned?
By the way, I've just, as I listened there, that face I had on was my listening intently face. The United States of America will stand with any country against terrorism. We stand with countries we're not so friendly with, and we stand with countries that we're extremely friendly with like India. This cancer of terrorism, as we crush it in the caliphate, as you all know, is moving in other directions, to include the West, into Western Europe. But the northern part of Africa is suffering terribly, and it will grow there. As it moves south in Africa, it's moving out into is already in South Asia. Very, very dangerous. I went to a very, very good conference that King Abdullah of Jordan invited me to, the Aqaba initiative, where he had all of the Southeast Asia countries represented, particularly the big Muslim countries, to include the Philippines. They have many, many Muslims, as you all know, in the southern part of the country. And the discussion was, what do we do as this, ISIS form of terrorism, cancerous, metastasizes in those parts of the world? And the countries are very, very afraid of that, because they've had to deal with it locally, but not, if you will, a threat that will go into places that typically you don't normally see Islamic terrorism thrive. So again, I would say that the United States will work with any country, does work with every country that is trying to get its arms around terrorism of all kinds. And there are different types. It's not all religious-based, the various types of terrorism, but that would be my answer. But I think that... Thanks a lot.
Sir, is President Trump going to visit India?
Ask me, someone asked me then. Yeah.
Thank you, General Kelly. I have a question about the tweets. That's a big part of this administration. Do they get you by surprise, and are they official statements? And on the war against North Korea, what are the chances? Should the American people be worried about the war?
That's two questions. Which one should I answer?
Both.
The American people should be concerned about a state that has developed a pretty good ICBM capability and is developing a pretty good nuclear reentry vehicle. I would believe, I think I speak for the administration, that state simply cannot have the ability to reach the homeland, and for that matter, the homeland. Right now, there's great concern about a lot of Americans that live in Guam. Right now, we think the threat is manageable, but over time, if it grows beyond where it is today, let's hope that diplomacy works. As far as the tweets go, it's funny. I read in the paper. You all know, you write it, that I've been a failure at controlling the president, or a failure at controlling his tweeting and all that. I was not sent in, or I was not brought to this job to control anything but the flow of information to our president, so that he can make the best decisions. I have found that Mr. Trump, from the day I met him, he's a decisive guy. He's a very thoughtful man, I should say. He takes information in from every avenue he can receive it. I restrict no one, by the way, from going in to see him. But when we go in to see him now, rather than onesies and twosies, we go in and help him collectively understand what he needs to understand to make these vital decisions. So again, I was not sent into or brought in to control him, and you should not measure my effectiveness as a chief of staff by what you think I should be doing, but simply the fact is, I can guarantee to you that he is now presented with options, well thought out options. Those options are discussed in detail with his team, and then he comes up with the right decision. But it's always, always, always focused on protecting America and in advancing America's economic development, jobs for America, safety for Americans. And with that, I'll let you go, and I enjoy reading about it tomorrow. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Not stream this on social media, and it is embargoed.
All right, guys, so some really informative, interesting words from Chief of Staff John Kelly, very candid words at the White House press briefing. We're going to close it down for our digital coverage from there, guys, but so you know, we'll see you hopefully tonight at the Wharf or at the Nationals game, Game 5 of the NLDS, which is tonight. So thanks so much for joining us on the stream. We have more coverage for you on our evening broadcast as usual, and also here on digital tomorrow at 11:30. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.
Attention stations on Edge Live Channel 1, we're taking you back to Rutgers University.